Proceed, please.
Miss Allen, you and the defendant lived together for how long?
About 2 years.
And you have no children together?
No, we do not.
But you just resided in the same apartment?
Correct.
Okay. And according to your complaint, there came a time when Mr. Andrews had fallen behind in some child support payments to former mate, former spouse, ex-wife. He faced the potential of being incarcerated. It's sort of convoluted, but I gather that he couldn't ask his parents for money directly.
Correct.
So you made arrangements to borrow the $1,300 that he needed with the understanding and the promise to his parents that you would pay that debt back to them when you got your tax return.
Correct.
You say you got your tax return, you did pay them back the $1,300, you and the defendant went your separate ways, and you want the $1,300 back from him.
Correct.
And Mr. Andrews says that the money was joint. The money that was paid back to his parents, he acknowledges that it was paid back to his parents, but it came out of a joint account. That's your defense, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not true.
When did you go to court for child support, sir?
3 of 98.
And how much did you owe in child support?
I owed, what I needed to pay was like $1,843.
What did you owe?
$2,300. $2,300.
And what were you told if you didn't come up with $1,800?
That I could possibly go to jail.
So what did you do?
I talked with, Kim and I went over and talked with my mom and dad.
So the two of you went over together?
Absolutely. We were in my attorney's office. We went and talked to my mom and dad about borrowing the money from them. We borrowed part of the money from them. We didn't borrow all the money from them because we had
$1,300.
$1,300, right?
Okay.
Right.
$1,300 from your parents.
Right.
Had you borrowed money from them before?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Often?
Not often. My mom and dad are not big on loaning money. They like for you to kind of make your own way.
Was there any discussion at that time of when they were going to be paid back?
Yes, that would be their first question. How and when are you going to pay me back?
And what was the discussion?
The discussion was we wrote them a check for part of it. They were to cash it on a certain date, and that...
Okay, let's go back.
Okay.
This is March of '98.
Yes, ma'am.
You wrote out a check to your parents.
Yes, ma'am.
Which I assume you have.
No, I
Cancel
don't.
check?
I have no check stuff. She has all that.
You have them?
I do.
And what was the date of the first payment to his parents?
That was on March 10th.
That's when the first payment was to be made to them.
That
They
was
could cash
when-
the check.
That was when I got my taxes back and the check was sent to them.
Let me see. Are you telling me that at the time you took out this, you borrowed $1,300, you did not in fact give them a check, as Mr. Andrews says?
No,
or
we
stated?
did not.
Partial check.
No, we
Partial
did not.
check. For how much?
It was $500 and some odd dollars because you can see I have a $1,843 payment that was made on 3 of 98 to the child support
No,
services.
listen to me, sir.
Okay.
That wasn't made to your parents. If you owed them $1,800, you borrowed $1,300 for your parents, you didn't make your parents a payment of $500. You made
That's
the
correct.
government. You sent to the child collection unit $500.
No, I borrowed $1,843 from my mom and dad.
No.
And sent my mom and dad a check for 500 and whatever odd dollars it was.
The check
if
that
I'm not
they
mistaken.
gave him, the pink copy at the top, is for $1,343, and that is what we borrowed from them. They had made the check out to him to pay to Alamance County Courthouse.
Right. My mom and dad had gave me a check, and I went and got a counter check for it, a bank check for it.
Doesn't make any difference. They gave you $1,300. That's all. That's what they gave you. They didn't
Right,
give you
okay.
$1,800.
Okay.
So the $500, you didn't give them a payment for $500, which is exactly what I said, Mr. Andrews. You gave the court $1,800, $1,300 from your parents, and $500 from you.
Right, okay.
Right?
Well, it's been so long ago, some of these money amounts are not quite...
Well, you've been living with this situation, sir. I've only been trying to understand for 3 minutes, and I got it.
I understand.
Okay, good. I'm glad you understand. So now we're down to $1,300. Now, the $1,300 was repaid on the 10th of March.
And that was out of his account, ma'am. It was not out of a joint account. That was
Now-
out of his account.
How did this $1,343 get into your account, sir?
I would assume we had both put it in there.
Don't
Money.
assume anything. Try to remember.
I'm sure she got her tax money back, put it back in there, put it in there. Mhm. She has held all my financial records. I have nothing.
I didn't hold them, ma'am.
If you look at who wrote that check, you'll see her handwriting.
No, that's your
Just a
hand.
second.
Is it?
Joe, just a second. No, it's your handwriting.
It is? Okay. I haven't seen it. She kept it all.
Mr. Andrews, you said rather emphatically a moment ago that it wasn't your handwriting, that you remembered.
She usually wrote all the checks. She even wrote checks out of my account.
Do you understand what I just said
Oh,
to
I
you? You
understand.
said it's not my handwriting. She wrote the check.
Right, I
That was
understand.
said with a certain authority.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, so this money came out of your account just a few days later
Right.
to pay back your parents.
Right.
It didn't come out of a joint account. It came out of your account.
Right.
Did you put the money there?
I don't know if I put any of it there, to be honest with you. It's been so long ago. I'm sure that when we talked to my mom and dad, we had a method of paying them back, and the method was...
Well, the
she
method
was
of paying them
having
back
tax
was-
money. Right, exactly.
Tax money.
Exactly.
Her tax money.
Right. She had definitely, yeah,
So why don't you owe her this money?
I have no idea. I don't think I owe her
said-
any money.
Well, explain that to me. I mean, your answer, Mr. Andrews, says that the money was paid from a joint... Let me
Right.
try to...
That was best of my recollection. She's had...
That doesn't say to the best of your recollection here.
I
It
understand.
says, my parents loaned Kim and I the money to pay my child support payments.
Right.
We paid them back around a month later from our joint bank account.
This is not the first loan that Kim and I have had with my parents. And
That-
we've
This is
had
the only
loans
loan-
with-
just a
Yes,
second.
it was,
loan-
ma'am.
This is the only loan I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it was.
This is the only loan that's being sued for,
Right.
and your parents aren't suing you. They got their money back.
Right. Right.
So what you're telling me now, Mr. Andrews, after some dancing around, is that the money was, in fact, put in your account by the plaintiff to pay back your parents, and it was put there from her tax return.
I'm sure it was.
Good. Now, did you pay her back?
Not directly in a $1,300 check. I worked every day, check every week.
So did
I was
I,
the
ma'am.
breadwinner. You know.
So, no.
I brought the money
I
in the
brought home-
household.
Just a
you
second.
know. She didn't want me to go to jail because she wanted to make sure somebody was there to support her.
Well, were you working during that time?
What?
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Andrews. If she was getting a tax refund, that means she was employed.
I have two children.
Shh, just a second. That means she was employed
Right.
and earning money,
Right.
so that you weren't supporting her.
Not totally.
Even
And
if he wasn't
certainly,
there.
sir, she had more money than you did because you fell behind in your child support payments, so you couldn't even keep up your primary obligation, which is to support your children.
Right. My actual child support was, there was an order to modify that. The original order that was put in was incorrect. I was paying for children that weren't mine, and it was overpayment, underpayment.
What do you mean you
it
were paying
was-
for children that weren't yours?
The first order that I had was for a child that wasn't mine. I was paying child support for 2 children and only had 1 child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't a stranger that they picked out of a bucket
No.
and said, Mr. Andrews, you're going to pay for this child. So who is this child?
Well, actually, my wife had this child while we were still married, but it was another man's child.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kim Allen is suing former boyfriend, Thomas Andrews, for a loan to pay his child support. He says he paid it back.
Were you paying for 2 children, sir, because both of those children were receiving welfare?
No.
Well, the only way you can pay for a child that's not yours, in most jurisdictions in this country, is if you're married to their mother and you are their step-parent, and there isn't another deep pocket to go after, so they say as a step-parent you are responsible for paying support, at least to the amount that the citizens are paying for that child support.
Right.
So is this child that you say, I find this interesting, is the child that is not yours a child that is totally unknown to you?
No, not unknown to me. No,
It wasn't a stranger that they picked out of a bucket
No.
and said, Mr. Andrews, you're going to pay for this child.
No.
So who is this child?
That child was my ex-wife's child.
Right. So
Right,
you were
exactly.
the stepfather of that child.
For about 3, yes, exactly.
Right. And as the stepfather of that child, there was a time when those 2 children were receiving public assistance.
No, well, I guess, yes, sure.
And therefore, the state was pursuing you for child support for both of those children. While the relationship of step-parent, stepchild existed until you were divorced.
Well, actually, my wife had this child while we were still married, but it was another man's child.
Oh, well, that makes it even more interesting. Still in all, there must have been welfare involved.
Right.
If you're going to be a good judge in the family court, you got to learn one thing. It's not like any other business. You got to follow the money.
Right.
You owe $1,300 judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I lent him that money, and he promised me he'd pay me back, and it was my money to begin with because I earned it.
I do not believe I owe her any money at all. I have put money in that relationship to ends meet, and I guess hopefully this will be finished. She has been pursuing me for money, and hopefully this will be the last straw.
I called him a few times, and first time he said he had to think about it. Second time he said he wasn't going to. So that was my money, and I was going to get it.
She just keeps digging for money. I've got receipts here where she dug for money last year. Hopefully this will put a stop to it.
Girls out there, women out there, don't just give your money to any man.
Bring it to the diva of truth and justice, Judge Judy.
That's right.
And now the next case.
All parties on Seamus versus Summer. Step forward, please.
26-year-old second-grade teacher Corey Seamus is suing ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old music teacher David Sommer, for a computer and a tattoo.
Miss Seamus, were you dating the defendant for a while?
Yes, I had been.
And during that time, a sister gave him a computer. You said that you would hook up the computer or do whatever you do with computers, and while you were doing that, you broke it. Is that right?
It had crashed, and some things needed to be reinstalled. It wasn't totally broken.
But that's while you were working on it.
Right.
So according to your complaint, you went out with the defendant, purchased a new computer, loaned him $400 towards a new computer. The second part of your complaint is you wanted to get tattooed. You wanted to get joint tattoos. He didn't have any money. You laid out the money. It was $600 in total, and he gave you $50 towards the purchase of a computer. Is that right?
It wasn't joint tattoos. We were going to get them together.
Or you were going to get them at the same time. He says he never accepted any of this as a loan, but I assume that you purchased the computer because you broke the one he had, and the tattoos were a gift. Okay. Plaintiff came over and you asked her to help you, or she volunteered?
She had volunteered.
Is that right?
He said, well, you know what you're doing, so go ahead and work on the computer.
So you did, it broke. Then what did you do?
Then we decided to take it to a computer store and see how much it would be to get the programs reinstalled that we needed to reinstall to fix it.
Okay, is that, so far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you both learn at the computer store?
It was going to be about as much, maybe a little bit less to get the computer fixed than to purchase a new one.
So what was the conversation?
I said, I will loan you the money, and you can pay me back. The agreement was he was going to pay me back as much as he could every week, $25, $50, until it was paid off.
The computer was originally to be used in my work, my business, and that's where everything had happened. She had felt bad about breaking my computer, therefore she bought me the new computer.
Well, don't tell me what she felt. Did you have a discussion with her about payment for the computer?
No, she said, I broke your computer, so I'm going to get you a new one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why would you indulge yourself advancing him another $200 to put him another $200 in debt to you to get something that was whimsical, like a tattoo?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Corey Seamus is suing former boyfriend, David Sommer, for a computer and a tattoo.
Did he make any payments at all?
He made one payment of $50.
When?
Probably a week or so after it was initially purchased.
What did you give her the $50 for?
That's all I had. I figured if she's going to buy me a computer, I may as well give her what I have for it.
You sent that 2 weeks later.
No, the money I gave her was that day that we purchased the computer.
So you didn't send her anything afterwards?
No, it was that day.
That's not correct. When we went to purchase the computer, he paid $50 or $60. He put, that's what he had on him. I had paid for the rest. And then it was a week or so, a few weeks later, he gave me $50.
I wasn't working. I had no source of income. There was no way that that was possible.
He gave me $50 a couple weeks later.
What did he say when he gave you $50 a couple of weeks later?
At that point, I believe we were still dating, and he said, I have some money. He was planning on paying me back. He'd even told me he's planning on paying me back. Whenever he had a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, he was going to pay me back.
All right, now let me hear about the tattoos.
I decided that I wanted to get one, and we decided we were going to go get one together, and he said that he was going to have the money at the end of the week.
So what did you say?
So I said, I will loan you the $200 for the tattoo. We'll get them, and you'll pay me back at the end of the week.
If you knew he had no money for a computer, why would you indulge yourself in advancing him another $200 to put him another $200 in debt to you to get something that was whimsical, like a tattoo.
Because I was afraid I'd chicken out on getting the
Then
tattoo,
that's what you wrote here. Then that's your problem.
But,
No.
Your Honor, I also have
No.
internet messages back and forth and emails from
see.
David.
Let me see.
And you'll see on those internet messages, he says, I'm a man of my word. I hope you're recording these messages. I plan on paying you. I'm just not working.
Just a second, just a second. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
I have an extra copy. Do you want me to?
No, let him just look it over briefly. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am. But she also does not have, I don't have them either, but copies of harassments towards me. This was after the harassments.
Just a second, sir.
Yes, sir.
Were you in the privacy of your own home when you had this conversation
Yes, ma'am.
with her? So you weren't being harassed at the time. Nobody was holding a gun to your head, is that right?
No, ma'am.
And you had this conversation where you clearly say to her, you'll get your money, but right now you can't get blood from a stone. I'll give it to you when I have it. You want me to give you some other quotes?
No, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Seamus, you acted foolishly. Foolishly because at the same time when he didn't have enough money to buy something that he needed for work, according to him, you decided that you wanted to have a tattoo. And it couldn't wait.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Based upon your correspondence, sir, these were loans, not gifts.
Before this, I was receiving phone call after phone call, emails, instant messages. I want money, I want money. My mama told me, just tell her you're going to pay her and get her off your back.
That's not what that says, sir. This is a 4-page dialogue. You should have listened to your mother. You should have paid her. Because there's nothing like a woman that feels as if not only has a relationship expired, but it's expired, and she's $600 out with a tattoo, no less. Can I have the evidence back, please, Bert? Now, my only problem, Mr. Sommer, is she's suing for $550. According to you, you owe her $600. She says that you gave her a check for $50 2 weeks after the computer was purchased. You say you never sent her such a check. You think she's wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then you would owe her more than she's suing for.
No, I paid her the day of. I gave her $60.
In any event, Ms. Seamus, he doesn't get it. You're only suing for $550. That's what you say he owes. He would like to pay you more, but I can't let him do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $550. That's all.
Number 310 on the calendar, the matter of Pennington versus Mobley.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Pennington, when did you and the defendant start to date?
April of this year.
And when for the first time did you loan him money?
I loaned him money 3 weeks after that.
For what?
I gave him money for his car to be fixed, as well as money to get his LA Fitness back on order.
And how much were those two loans?
I gave him a couple $100 for AutoZone to get fixed for his car, and then another $150 for his LA Fitness membership.
Tell me how that came about.
He text messaged me asking me for money to get his car fixed to go back and forth to work, and I felt as though I needed to help him being his girlfriend, which we were in a relationship, a committed relationship within probably 2 weeks of when we met.
That's some commitment.
Yes. He asked me for the money to get his car fixed, and then he also asked me to...
Well, what did he say to you?
He said that he was not able to get back and forth to work, that he needed to get a head gasket set put on his car, and I loaned him the money.
Go ahead.
First of all, Yana, she was never my girlfriend. Everything that she gave me...
Don't start with everything. Let's start with car repair.
Yes, ma'am. The car repair, she gave it to me.
Well, tell me how she knew that your car needed repair.
I told her my car, my car
Well,
broke
tell
down.
me when, how did you tell her? Did you call her? Did you write her? Did you text her? Did you tell her when you were having lunch? How did you tell her that your car needed repair, Mr. Mobley?
On the telephone, Yana.
So you picked up the phone and you told her?
We was talking on the phone, and...
And you said?
I told her that my car was broke, and I needed help to get my car fixed.
My car was?
My car needed to be fixed.
And you needed?
A head gasket.
You needed?
Help! My bad, John.
Now, at this time, according to you, she wasn't your girlfriend.
No.
And she was never your girlfriend.
No.
Well, then why would you ask her for money?
Because she said she'd help me.
No. Listen, I am older than Methuselah. However, I do have an intact memory of my dating time, you know, when I was a younger person. And I don't remember ever saying to anybody, I'm going to help you out financially, unless they told me that they needed being helped financially. So my question to you is, why would you, Mr. Mobley, tell somebody that you weren't involved in a relationship with, that you needed help? Could they give you money?
She offered, Your Honor.
There's something wrong with you.
Your Honor, she offered to help me, Your Honor. And when I told her my car was
Just a second. Why would you tell someone that you weren't in a relationship, committed relationship with? Why would you have a conversation? My car's not right. I don't have money to fix it. I needed to go to work. Why would you burden somebody that you weren't in a relationship with all that baloney?
Because I knew that she'd help me. Like, you know.
Ah, there you go. Because you knew. Just a second. I don't think you're adorable, by the way.
I think you are, though, Your Honor.
Though that's very good. You're right, I am. I don't think you are.
Okay.
So you told her, now we got it right. Now you told her you're tailable because you knew she would help you. That's being dishonest. And you knew she would help you because she liked you and because she thought you were in a relationship.
She loved me.
She loved you.
Yeah.
So then you were being doubly dishonest. You were playing on her emotions, even though you knew you weren't in a committed relationship. Who are you?
I'm his friend, Your Honor. It was roommate.
Why didn't he ask you for money?
Because I'm in the same boat as he is, Your Honor.
Sit. Do you understand where I'm going, Mr. Mobley?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to think if that is just a big empty suit that you're wearing. And so far, it's coming up empty. So far, it's coming up empty, Mr. Mobley. It's showing me a lot of bad character. So far, you needed money for your car under false pretenses because you asked somebody who cared for you, and you played on that to extract money from her. You're going to pay for your own car. And the car was $200. Now, did you use the same ploy when you needed money for your LA Fitness membership?
She took it upon herself, Your Honor, and called LA Fitness.
Did she?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see how that came about, Mr. Mobley. You work at LA Fitness. You train people there. That's what I gather from here.
I work out at LA Fitness.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a professional fighter.
So you're a professional fighter and you work out at LA Fitness?
I work out at LA Fitness, yes. That's to lift weights. I work for a company called XFC. It's a Extreme Fighting Championship. We do cage fighting, like UFC.
Great. But you work out at LA Fitness?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what would cause Miss Pennington to call LA Fitness? Look at me. What would cause her, as opposed to calling De Beers for diamonds, or Harry Winston for a necklace, or Kmart for toilet paper, what would cause her to call LA Fitness?
First of all, I don't shop at Kmart.
Just a second. I don't. You understand? So you're not auditioning here, right, Mr. Mobley.
I know, Your Honor.
This is my program.
Okay.
So there's only one star here. Him.
All right.
Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. What would cause her to call LA Fitness?
We talked. We had a conversation.
And Mr. Mobley.
We had a conversation, Your Honor,
about...
But I did not ask her to pay it.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said you had a conversation with her, and in the conversation you said...
My LA Fitness membership has expired.
And
that was it. I didn't ask her to pay it, Your Honor. So it wasn't like...
right?
I asked her...
Go ahead.
I actually have 90 pages of text messages stating exactly what happened during the car episode, exactly what happened during LA Fitness.
90
I have soft copy and I still have a hard
copy. Car is a done deal. Car was $200.
Right.
LA Fitness is what I want to see. Just the emails from him about LA Fitness.
Yes, they're all in here as well.
Just take them out. I'm not going to read 90 pages.
No, I know.
Yeah. Oh, fortunately, we got from 90 pages, we got to 1. This is incomprehensible. they're going to put something like this in a time capsule and bring it out 200 years from now and say that this was a generation of people who were total illiterates because of this texting business. The text speak. It's illiterate.
Oh, yeah.
Do I get to see that, John?
Yeah.
Because I don't recall saying anything. So.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're not going to con me, sir. You may be a really good bouncer at a club, and you may be really good with the ladies, but I guarantee you, I can wrap you around here. The only thing is I have 8 other cases to do today, and you're beginning to bore me.
And later today.
And in addition to drawing a salary from the business, you also paid for your tan.
No, ma'am.
Believe me, I'm looking at her. She didn't go for a tan. That would be you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Margaret Pennington says ex-boyfriend Ombe Mobley owes for several unpaid loans. Ombe claims Margaret offered to help him out.
Would you please show this to Mr. Mobley?
Sure.
Thank you. But, John, anybody can send text messages.
Just a minute. I'm not asking you anybody. You asked to look at it. I'm showing it to you.
I don't remember sending this text message.
You don't remember it?
No,
I want you to read those through and tell me if any of the facts in those ring a familiar bell to you.
No.
Nothing?
No.
Well, then let me ask you more specifically, Mr. Mobley. I'll take it back. Who wrote, Miss Pennington, what time do you have to be in St. Cloud?
I did.
I don't know nobody in St. Cloud.
It was a fighting match he had to go to that day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. I did have a fight.
Now, tell me about the probationary fines you paid for and when.
I paid for them on 7/16 of this year and 7/22 of this year.
How much?
$236.90, $751.90, and $236.90.
What were your probationary fines for, Mr. Mobley? Is not an answer, sir. What did you get into trouble for?
I got federally indicted by the feds for cocaine.
When?
5 years ago.
Did you serve any jail time?
Yes, a little bit, John.
How much?
Yeah, that's behind me. I'd rather not talk about that.
I don't care what you want to talk about, then you pay the money.
No.
They're your fines. And if we're going to find out what they are, then we'll find out what they are.
The fines is for, it was court fees.
So are you prepared to pay them?
No.
Very good. Then we'll get back to what were you convicted of, sir?
I was convicted of possession of cocaine when attempted distribution.
And how much time did you serve?
I served a month, Your Honor.
And how much probation?
Probation was 5 years.
She paid several sets of fines. Were they all involving the same charge?
Yes.
All?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you pay the fines?
She offered to pay the fines.
Why didn't you pay the fines?
Because I couldn't pay him at that time, Your Honor.
Why not? You bought that nice suit. Not at that time, at any time.
I was in a bind.
What do you mean you were in a bind? You're a big, strong guy. Go and wait tables. Go and work in a club. Go and work in McDonald's. Do something. You have probation fines. You pay them. Why should she pay your probation fines? She didn't sell cocaine.
No, she didn't, but Your Honor, this was 5 years ago. I didn't...
She didn't sell cocaine 5 years ago or 10 years ago or yesterday. You did.
Yes.
They're your fines.
Yes.
So who should pay him?
She offered to pay him.
You're an idiot.
Your Honor, I should pay him, but she offered to pay him.
You sold the cocaine. You pay the fines. That's the way the law works. You con somebody else into paying the fines, we should put you back in jail. They should have put you back in jail anyway if you didn't pay the fines.
A second chance, Your Honor. Everybody deserves a second chance.
Well, they gave you a second chance.
And I'm taking advantage of my
your second chance, they said you have to pay these fines. That's part of the second chance. We're not going to put you in jail for 5 years. We're going to put you in jail for a month. And we're going to say, take a second chance, but you got to pay these fines. You say, I'm not paying these fines. I'm going to get some broad to pay my fines.
I didn't say that, Your Honor. I didn't say that at all.
Well, then how would she know, Mr. Mobley, since she wasn't your girlfriend and you weren't in an intimate relationship with her?
We was intimate.
No, just Mr. Mobley. Mr. Mobley, having a physical relationship with somebody, as you well told me 5 minutes ago doesn't mean you're in an intimate relationship. You said she wasn't my girlfriend.
But she knew that, Your Honor. She knew.
There's something wrong with you. You think you're going to con me like you've been conning other people now for years? You're not going to con me, sir. You may be really good at fighting mixed martial arts, and you may be really good with the ladies, but I guarantee you I can wrap you around here. The only thing is I have 8 other cases to do today, and you're beginning to bore me. Let's understand each other.
Yes.
You sold the drugs.
Yes.
You pay the fines. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1575. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If a person offered to pay it, what am I going to say? No?
No, I don't think he saw me as a dollar sign.
If a person walked up to you right now and say, yo, I'm going to give you $1 million.
I just think that I have a good heart, and I was trying to help him out.
What, you going to say no?
I guess everybody learns from their mistakes. He was my mistake.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of O'Boyle versus Clemens, step forward.
Mary Katie O'Boyle is suing her former business partner, Jeremy Clemens, for taking money from their business account, a tax debt, and accountant fees.
Miss O'Boyle, you and Mr. Clements went into a business venture together, according to your complaint, and that business adventure was a salon business.
Yes.
It didn't work out. Business is no longer viable, but it is your claim that there was a business account from which Mr. Clements paid personal expenses, unbeknownst to you. I'm not exactly sure, after reading Mr. Clemens' answer, what his defense is to that, except that he says you knew that he was paying personal expenses out of your business account. Okay. Miss O'Boyle, what is it that you allege Mr. Clemens paid out of the business account?
I have them all here, Judge Judy. Target cards, beach bum tanning, Ranchero restaurant, Belk's.
During what period of time?
This was in April, and it was like a 5-day spending spree.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
Did you pay a Comcast bill out of this?
I do not know, Your Honor.
Well, if you don't know, and that's what it says, then I guess you did. Sally Mae. Sally Mae what?
It's a student loan bill.
$336.99. That sound right?
That wasn't what I paid monthly, but...
I didn't ask you whether you paid it monthly. Maybe you missed a month.
I might have.
Might have. What about Sunoco, sir?
I did go on a business trip for the salon, which I did use the card for gas.
And how much did you put into the business account from that business trip?
How much did I put into the business account, ma'am?
There's an echo in here, Mr. Clemens. My question is, how much did you put into the business account from that business trip?
Well, I didn't take a paycheck. So basically, it depends on how much I had from that week that I would have made.
I don't think you're cute, actually. I don't think you're cute. I think that you did the wrong thing.
No, ma'am, Your Honor. She knew every...
Don't tell me what she knew. First of all, I'm looking at you and you're lying. First of all, I'm looking at you, and believe me, the hair goes up on the back of my neck when somebody is lying to me. And Mr. Clemens, I'm looking at you, and when you say to me, she knew, you're a liar. The camera will find that in your face so that the 10 million people who watch this at least once a day will see that look that I'm talking about. They're becoming very clued into that look, Mr. Clemens.
I'm not lying,
very
Your
clued.
Honor.
Oh, yes, you are. You telling me that you told her that you had drawn out a check to pay for your student loan in the amount of $336?
Well, after the 12
you see that
beers
look,
she had
Mr.
had,
Clemens,
she probably doesn't remember.
Mr. Clemens, the camera's getting you, sir. The camera gets liars. If what you're saying in your answer is she was drunk all the time, so she doesn't know what I told her and what I didn't tell her, what I think is you're a hustler and you took advantage of her.
No, ma'am.
I think you're a hustler and you took advantage of her and drew out an awful lot of money that didn't belong to you, that you didn't work for, and that you figured, well, I got this lady. She doesn't know. She's an old lady. What does she know? You know, I'm younger and I'm smarter, and I've been hustling all my life, and this is just another hustle.
No, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Mr. Clemens. See it. I see it. Because nobody who runs a business lets their partner, unless they're also drawing things out, paying personal expenses from the business account. Then some people say, you know what, I'll pay a couple of bills from the business account, you pay a couple of bills from the business account, and it'll be a wash. But that didn't happen in this account, Mr. Clemens. The only one who paid their personal expenses out of it was you.
She wrote herself checks
Was
from the account.
you?
She didn't use the card. She wrote herself checks.
What about...
And had her clients pay her.
Just a second, Mr. Clements. What about you? Did you not draw a salary from the business? Just answer my question. Did you not draw a salary from the business?
A commission-based salary, yes, ma'am.
I don't think you're cute, Mr. Clements, in case you haven't figured that out yet. Did you draw a salary from the business?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be the answer. And in addition to drawing a salary from the business, as Miss O'Boyle did, you also paid for your tan.
No, ma'am.
Believe me, I'm looking at her. She didn't go for a tan. That would be you. Listen, Miss O'Boyle, he's a hustler. You're not supposed to go into business with hustlers. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,100. That's all. Step out.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
Parties are excused. Cool. Parties are sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
You are Mr. Lindstrom?
Correct.
You weren't there during the course of this argument that resulted in damage to a car that you own, that your daughter was driving. Is that right?
That's correct.
So you can have a seat. Ms. Lindstrom, the defendant was your boyfriend. I gather from your papers that you are in the process of breaking up with him. You decided to go over to his house. There was an argument. You decided to take some of your belongings. And an argument ensued. And the argument, I gather, was over a guitar that you were taking with you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the argument extended outside and resulted in your father's car getting dented.
Yes.
You say the defendant caused those dents to the car. Okay, so let's start. When was this argument?
April 5th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Now, when you went over to his apartment, had you already broken up?
It was actually his parents' house, and no, we hadn't.
So you went over there for the purpose of what?
Just to hang out.
And you got into an argument?
Yes.
About what?
Nothing in particular. We were just getting on each other's nerves.
So what did you do?
He asked me to leave, and I said I would leave if I could have my personal belongings back, because we assumed we would never be speaking to each other after that point.
And what personal belongings were you going to take?
I had a guitar, a VCR, and a Sony PlayStation, but at that point I was most concerned about the guitar because I still owed money on it.
Tell me about the guitar.
It's a $650 guitar I purchased from a store. I purchased it on a payment plan in which I still owed 2 more payments on.
Who plays the guitar?
Andy plays the guitar.
So you gave the guitar to him?
I bought it with the assumption that he would eventually pay me back for it.
You don't buy something under the assumption. When did you give him the guitar?
The day we bought it.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you buying the guitar.
We went to a store. We both picked out a guitar that we both liked. I actually traded in a guitar that I owned and paid the remainder of the money that was owed with a check. And there's 2 other checks that were going to be cashed at later dates to make up the remaining payment.
How did you get the guitar, sir?
She gave it to me and I brought it over to my house, and I'd been playing it for a couple of months.
What do you mean she gave it to you?
When we moved out of our apartment, she gave the guitar to me and said I could take it to my house.
And said you could take it to your house?
Yes.
Well, did she give it to you as a gift, or did she purchase it to share it?
I asked her to buy it for me as a gift and told her I would pay her back if she wanted me to, and that's what I assumed was going on.
You said 2 different things. You said she bought it for you as a gift, and you said you would pay her back.
The gift part of it was that she was going to pay for half of it and I was going to pay for the other half. That was like the original agreement we had when we went into the store to buy the guitar.
Is that right?
Considering that I had given the guitar store my guitar that I had owned previously, that was the part I was paying for.
Is that right?
Yes.
Fine. So how much money was invested in the guitar?
Probably $450.
That you paid for?
Yes.
Okay. And the agreement was he was to pay you back for that?
Yes.
But he was going to keep the guitar?
Yes.
Did you make any payments to her?
I hadn't at the time that she came over. It was a little while after we'd moved out of our apartment, and the fight just happened, and she took the guitar, and I wanted it back.
Why hadn't you made any payments on it?
I hadn't gotten paid from work yet, so I didn't have any money.
So, Miss Lindstrom, based on your contract, you gave him the guitar.
Yes.
He was to make payments on it. So you had no right to take it from the house.
He hadn't made any payment on it.
You didn't have any time frame for the payments. Is that right?
Correct.
So you had no right to take the guitar. It could have been a lawsuit. You could have sued him for the $450. But the guitar was, in fact, his guitar. You understand that? If you didn't, I'm explaining it to you now. You may have still owed money on the guitar, but your agreement was he keeps the guitar, he gives you $450 at some time. That's a lawsuit. That means that if you went there to retrieve your property, he says, I'm keeping the guitar, fine, you still owe me $450. You go to small claims court, you sue him for $450, and if that's your agreement, which he says it was, you get your $450. So you had no right to take the guitar. So you went into the house, you took the guitar, and what happened?
He tried to get me to leave by using force. At one point, he was on top of me on the bed, and it was choking my neck.
Why didn't you leave when he told you to leave?
Because I wanted to take my things with me first.
The most important thing you said you were interested in taking was the guitar.
That's right.
Which I've already explained to you had no right to take. Okay, so what happened next?
I got a hold of the guitar, and he said, fine, if you take it outside, I'm just going to follow you and take it back from you. So I went outside, and he grabbed it from me. And I tried to go after him, but he pushed me down. And I got up, and he pushed me down 3 more times. And then he turned around to go back into the house, and I grabbed a hold of his back. And he said, Jenny, if you don't let go of my back, I'm going to hit you over the head with the guitar.
So you grabbed hold of his back, which means that you were sort of piggyback, is that right?
Yes.
So your feet were off the ground?
Yes.
And you were holding on to him?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And after he said that, he laid me back down onto the hood of the car. So that
he laid you back down so that you would get off him?
Right.
Go ahead.
And then he got up off of me, and I got up and grabbed the guitar. And I ran around to the other side of the car, to the driver's side. And I got inside, I put the guitar and got inside the car. I shut the doors, I locked them. He looked really upset because I was in my car, there's nothing else he could do. At this point, he kicked off the passenger mirror of my car and then proceeded to kick the front passenger door and the back passenger door a few times. And then he went inside, and his mother came out and asked if I was okay.
Do you have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
Right there.
Sorry.
Is this a picture of the hood of the car?
Yes.
Is there a dent in the hood of the car?
There are several small dents. The picture doesn't really show.
Is that from when you fell on the car? That you pay for?
Okay.
Let me hear your version of the events.
What happened was she came over to my house, and we were just watching TV, and I asked her to leave several times over and over again. The only force I used to try and get her out of the house was I picked her up and carried her, and I got her outside finally to leave, and she took my guitar with her, so I went and got it back, and she continued to jump at me, try and get it back. She jumped on my back. I pushed her onto the hood of the car because I wanted her off my back. I don't know if I kicked the car during the struggle on accident because she kept attacking me, but...
The hood is during the course of the struggle. The kicks to the car aren't during the course of the struggle.
No, the struggle happened all around the car in my front yard. He was the only other person there that saw it. My mom didn't even come outside till afterwards.
Were you there all the time?
Yes.
Step up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Jennifer Lindstrom says ex-boyfriend Andy Kunkel owes for an assault and for kicking her car.
Tell me your name.
Tony Vaitkunis.
Tell me what you saw, sir.
I came over, I guess they had been fighting. I came over right when they went outside, and they were running around the car, shouting at each other, and she jumped up on his back, and I saw the money later on the hood of the car. I did not see him kick the car. I don't know anything about that. That came up when Andy got the papers that they were suing him. The fight was pretty much Andy saying, give me my guitar back, and her saying no, and him saying, get away from me, and her running after him and wouldn't just leave.
Okay, let me see the estimates for the car, please. All right, we're eliminating the hood. Do you know why we're eliminating the hood?
I know why you think it should be eliminated, yes.
You jumped on his back. He had to get you off his back.
Not
What do you want him to
throw
do,
me
hit you
on
in the head with the guitar?
No.
Okay. So?
But would that have been my fault, too, if he hit me on the head with the guitar?
Absolutely. He was stealing his guitar. Listen to me. The law doesn't take emotions into account. The law says it's his house. He asked you to leave. You didn't want to leave. He finally told you to leave. You finally said you would leave, and you took his property. Now, he has a right to get his property back. You want to say something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He was not, that was his mother's house. He was not living there at the time, so
Yes, I was.
for him to say that he was not living at the home is incorrect.
Now, living at what home?
In his mother's home. He was not living there.
Well, his property was there. And he, as opposed to your daughter, at the time that she was told to leave by someone who has presumptive authority to be in the home, once she comes in with permission, but when she's told to leave, then it becomes a trespass if she doesn't leave. But your daughter had no right to take this guitar. The guitar had been given to the defendant. The fact that he owed her money is handled in a civil way. That's the way we resolve disputes in this country. She walks out the door, she gets into her car, she may be furious, but she gets into the car, and she says, I'm going to sue him for the $450 because that's what he owes me for the guitar. And he promised he would pay me back for the guitar.
Can I say something there?
Yes.
It was my belief that it would not become his guitar until he paid me back for it.
What your belief is irrelevant unless there is an agreement. And I guarantee you that when this guitar was purchased, you did not say to him, you may have physical possession of the guitar, but the guitar does not become yours legally until you pay me the money. You didn't say that to him, did you?
I said something similar, yes.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That's not what a boyfriend and a girlfriend say to each other. It's not what even friends say to each other. They say, you'll pay me back? You know, I'm going to lay this out, but you'll pay me back for it? Yes, I will. That's it. So, the fact that he had to get you off his back and you dented the hood of your dad's car, you have to be responsible for that. But I find that you did, in fact, kick this car. You were angry because she had your guitar in the car, and you were angry.
She didn't have it in the car until she drove off.
Yes, and that's when she says you kicked the car.
No, because she didn't drive off until after my mom came outside, and when my mother came outside, I went back in the house.
Before your mother came outside, you kicked the car. Clearly, this car was kicked. This is not just pushing somebody against the side door. There's a difference between a side door of the car and the hood of the car.
I didn't say that I pushed her into it. I said during the struggle it might have accidentally happened.
Could have happened. I find that it didn't. And he probably should have let her, just on an emotional basis, let her take the guitar and go and sue for it later. If you feel as if it was yours, then you would have sued her and she would have said, we had an agreement. When he gives me the $450, you can have the guitar. Right?
Yes.
So somebody's got to pay for this man's car. His daughter's going to pay for part of it, for the hood of the car, but you're going to pay for the sides, which comes to $957. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was fine. I think she was fair in what the decision was.
The judge made some valid points, but that it was still unfair.
Make legal binding contracts when you buy a gift for somebody, I guess.
Don't lend money.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Flores versus Flores. Step forward.
27-year-old store clerk Patricia Flores is suing her sister-in-law, 25-year-old customer service rep Sonia Flores, for kicking her car. Sonia says Patricia was parked outside her home and she was trying to get her to leave.
Mrs. Flores, the defendant is your sister-in-law.
Correct.
And according to your complaint, you went over to your mother-in-law's house to pick up your husband.
Correct.
When was that?
March 31st.
And you were in your car?
Correct.
And your sister-in-law came either home or came out of the house?
No, she was driving up, going home.
She was coming home. She saw your car parked. You were waiting for him outside?
Correct.
And she came up to your car, started an argument, and then kicked your car.
Correct.
Damaging your car.
Correct.
You want her to pay for the damage.
Correct.
She says, I don't know, she merely tapped at your window and told you to go away. Had you had a problem with your sister-in-law before this?
No, I haven't had a problem with her before, but when I married my husband, she never liked me.
When were you married?
February the 27th.
Okay. Now, what did your sister-in-law say to you when she came up to the car?
She said kind of verbal names.
Tell me what she said. When she walked up to the car?
Yes.
Any reason for that?
Well, the reason is that apparently my two friends that I had before were my friends, not anymore, had told her that I was with her boyfriend, which it wasn't even her boyfriend.
You mean before you were married?
Before I was married, yeah.
So that's why you think she doesn't like you?
Correct.
Now, Miss Flores, why did you go up to the car and tell her to leave?
Because she's not really welcome at our house.
Not welcome by whom?
By my whole family that lives at my house.
Well, what does that have to do with you?
Well, I really don't like her because the way she is. She sleeps around, and
What's that your business?
I know it's not my business, but it is my brother, and
So it's not your business?
I know.
So what did you go up to her car for?
I was telling her to leave. Basically.
She was waiting for her husband.
Yes, but my mom even told my brother she's not welcome there.
She wasn't in the house.
I know, but she was outside and still, it's still in front of the house and telling her not.
You have pictures of the damage to the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Did she kick the car with you in the car?
Yes, she did.
Go ahead.
I went up to the car after work. This is around 5:30. And I tapped on the car, and yes, I was calling her names. And she did sleep with a friend of mine.
I'm not interested in who she slept with, madam. Couldn't be less interested.
All right.
So you're calling her all kinds of names?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
And then I was telling her to leave. She was ignoring me, and I kept telling her to leave. After a while, I decided, all right, this is enough. I turned around, and I walked back to my car. When I got something from my car, I walked back to the house, and then that's when my brother came out of the house, and she was saying that I kicked her car, where I didn't know. I don't know why she would say that.
She said it because you did it.
And
she said it because you did it. That's why she said it.
I didn't do it.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. Because she was ignoring you. She was just sitting there. You were calling her all kinds of names. You were telling her to leave. She wasn't leaving. She was waiting for her husband. You got really frustrated, and you kicked her car.
Well, it is a used car. That dent could have been there already.
Yeah, well, it's possible, except that you did it.
I didn't do it.
Oh, yes, you did. You know why I know you did it?
How?
Because here you are. You're at your home. She's not in your home. She's sitting outside your home. You know exactly why she's there. She's there to pick up her husband. She's not invading your home. She's not invading your space. You say in your answer that you merely walked up to the window and tapped on the window and said, "You're not welcome here." But that's not what you said to her. You called her all kinds of names.
Yes, I did.
And if you called her all kinds of names and she was, as you put it, ignoring you, and I think you even said here something about giving you dirty looks,
yes,
then somebody with your kind of temper who was calling her all kinds of abominable names and telling her to get off her property would not just turn around and walk away. You may turn around and walk away after you gave her car a little kick, but not without that. You married?
No, I'm not.
Anybody else in your family married?
I have 4 brothers. They're all married.
Any of your brothers divorced?
No.
You like all the other wives?
Yes, I do.
Either you better learn to like this one or just to get along with her. It's not your choice. It's his choice. Not your choice, not your mother's choice, not your father's choice, not your sister's choice, not your brother's choice, nobody else's choice. It's his choice.
To be married to her?
That's right.
But it's also my choice whether I want to like her or not, and I choose not to like her.
You don't have to like her. You have to be civil to her.
That's if I like her. I don't like her.
Fine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $596. That's all.
Versus Davis Ayers. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Ayers, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she appropriated an insurance check that was for you in the amount of $600. She cashed it and used it for her own purposes. You want the money back.
That is correct.
Mrs. Ayers says she did it. She did it because you haven't paid any child support, and you owed her a whole bunch of money, and she needed it. That's your defense.
Yes.
Okay. When were you married? When were you divorced?
We were married in June of 1991 and finally divorced in December of 2002.
And you have children together?
That is correct.
How many children do you have together?
1. We have a boy, David, age 10 now.
And who is David's primary custodian?
His mother.
Do you visit with him?
On occasions, yes, I do.
What does on occasion mean?
Well, it seems to have changed recently where normally I can pick him up when he comes home from school. He'll call me and say, "Dad, come pick me up," or some things like that. And Nita has changed that and wanted me to make plans through her instead of David.
That's the appropriate thing to do.
it's understood. But when at moments before that, I would try and call her, leave messages on the home phone, cell phone, and everything, and it took a long time
Are
to
you telling
receive.
Are you telling me that your divorce decree does not provide for scheduled visitation?
No, we do not have any legal visitation or child support, anything set up.
Who has a copy of the judgment of divorce?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it, please. Just curious, Ms. Sayers, what was the problem with securing jurisdiction for a divorce? Because this is a bizarre situation for me, where you have a divorce, an absolute divorce that doesn't mention the issue of the marriage, child support, visitation, custody, all the things that are usually encompassed in a judgment of divorce. This does not. Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I had an option of either spending a lot of money and getting a divorce that did encompass visitation and custody, or spending less money. Since I was doing it by myself, he would agree to the divorce, but he wouldn't pay anything toward it. So the least expensive way for me to end it was to get one that didn't have all that in it. So that's what
So we agreed to this kind of a divorce as long as it didn't cost him any money?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Reason I did that way is because I actually found a $100 check that I had given her, a duplicate, in 1995 if she wanted a divorce, and I gave her $100 towards it, and she decided to do whatever she did with that money. Also, she did not get the divorce. And then...
How long have you been separated?
Since 94 or 5 or something.
Most of
like
our
that.
married life we've been separated. We've lived together for a total of, we tried to put it together about 2 years.
Gotcha. And David has been in your primary care during that all that time?
Yes, he has.
Okay. Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Your former wife carried you on her insurance, is that right?
Yes, she did.
Until what year?
Until the divorce went through, and even after the divorce, when I called Blue Cross Blue Shield, they said I was still on there, so I don't know whether she was going through the emotions of taking me off or whatever.
Whatever, so she kept you on the insurance?
Correct.
That was really very nice of her.
It is, and I accepted it, and I thank
That
her.
was lovely of her. What kind of work do you do?
Right now, I am unemployed. I'm a temp agency, and I work part-time at a grocery store, but I'm not working full-time anywhere.
Well, what have you been doing since 1995 when you separated?
I've been working off and on jobs, and I was working on a good job, and my past has basically messed up my work. I had a good job, really good job, and I lost it. And as I must say, last year I lived most of it on inheritance from my grandmother, and I was very blessed.
How much inheritance?
She left me approximately, was it about 10,000?
Don't look at her. Look at
Okay,
me.
about 10,000.
Of the $10,000, how much did you give Miss Ayers for David's support?
Actually, it wasn't directly towards David's support. I gave her about at least $900 to pay some bills for her within where she was living, and I put $500 in my son's savings account.
So you gave her a total of $1,400 for the year?
I'd say that, yes.
The year prior to that, how much did you give her?
I have a number of check stubs just showing her approximately about maybe another total of, I don't know, within the years of the separation from 95 that you're asking. I don't know the grand total. Your Honor, I'd say about 5,000. Every now I would give money, and also when we go shopping for school clothes.
I don't want to hear about school clothes.
Okay, well, I'm
not interested. Because did you get $1,400 from him last year? $500 for David, and $900 towards bills?
I got $900 toward bills, that's all.
And he says he put in $500 for David. So in the year 2002, you got a grand total of $900 from him for the entire year. Is that right?
Yes, but it wasn't child support.
It was for bills.
It was, we were attempting to get back together, and he was attempting to move to Charlotte to have something to do with his son's life. And at that time is where I added him to my insurance, and we knew it might not work because we tried before. And we said, okay, I'll put you on the insurance and get some things done, some medical things. And his gesture was he bought me a ring and for Mother's Day, and he paid for my storage fee for 1 month and my car note for 1 month. That was the $900. He's since taken the ring back, and I did keep the $900.
I didn't take it, but I have.
What do you mean? You mean she gave it to you?
It was upon discussion and mentioned why would you want to not want to be with me and love me, but wear something that is monetary that I gave you as a replacement of her wedding ring that you and I lost. And when she handed it, held it up, is this what it's about? And yes, I took it, so we didn't fight over it. She gave it to me, and that's it.
We did.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ayers?
Yes, ma'am.
It is my assumption, sir, that for most of your son's life, you have been a father who has not supported him. Is that right?
No, that's not correct.
$900. Let us assume, sir, that I say that the $900 that you gave her last year was for your son, for support. And let us assume that I believe everything that you say, that since 1995 you had given her a total of approximately $5,000 for your son.
No, that's not correct. I have many pay stubs here that add up to more than that, and some pay stubs that I checks.
How much? Give me an idea.
I'll give you an idea of about another $8,000.
So in 8 years, is what you say, just a second, of course, Ms. Ayers, so in 8 years, you're telling me that you gave your son $8,000 towards his support. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes, I would say so.
Fine.
Okay.
That is about $1,000 a year. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's not enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You've been a deadbeat for 8 years.
That's not correct. That's not
Deadbeat, sir. You cannot feed a guppy, a goldfish, for $1,000.
And later today,
Miss Smith, you would agree that some of those pictures are pretty miserable.
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
How do you explain that?
I'm embarrassed by those pictures, to say the least.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Ayers says ex-wife Anita Davis Ayers owes for illegally cashing his settlement check. Anita claims Robert is a deadbeat father.
Listen to me, sir. What I want to understand is where you get the chutzpah, gall, to sue her for a $600 insurance refund check, where she was nice enough to put you on her insurance, where you've been a deadbeat for 8 years.
That's not correct. That's not
deadbeat, sir. You cannot feed a guppy, a goldfish, for $1,000 a year. And you want for her, who has been the sole support of your child, probably all of her life, with the exception of the few years when you had a good job, to take money out of her bank now that she already put in because she was pretty much annoyed with you, and give it the $600 to you. And I'm going to tell you this, sir. I'm going to grant your judgment and hold it in abeyance for the following period of time. Listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
You will go into the local family court where you live. You will file a petition for visitation for your son and ask the court to set an order of support retroactive to the last moment that you gave her money. Do you understand?
Yes.
When you do that, and you have started to pay regularly for 3 months, I will release the check for $600. Do you understand? Do you understand me, sir?
If I have
you
to,
are
yes.
absolutely entitled to the $600 that she got by way of an insurance check that was designated for whatever surgery you had. It was her insurance. She was nice enough to put you on her insurance. You are absolutely entitled to
I would have never done that.
Just listen to me very carefully, sir. You are absolutely entitled to that. And I'm going to grant you your judgment and hold it in abeyance. When you are paying a child support order regularly, you can have your money. Do I make myself clear? That's all. Step out.
Bodies are excused.
I don't feel like it's right.
I think the judge made the right decision.
I wish we would have done this earlier, and we could have just given me the check and it would have been okay, because everything could have been cordial.
He's never given me anything near $8,000.
No problem. I'll take care of my son, and I'll pay him and take care of him. I'll do that. No problem at all.
He does very little. The little that he does, have to prod him to do it.
She's a Judge Anita, and she wants to run things her way.
You can call me Judge Anita, but sometimes you have to be a strong person just to make things happen.
I have to do what I have to do, and I'll stand up and strong man like I've been doing before, and I'll do whatever I have to do to take care of my son.
If you keep on letting the person use you, they'll keep using you. So you just have to cut it off and pay the consequences.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weekly versus Smith, step forward, please.
Irish dancing teacher Patricia Weekly is suing dressmaker Valerie Smith for the money she paid for dance costumes. Valerie is countersuing for the unpaid balance.
Miss Weekly, Miss Smith, according to what I read, was commissioned by you to make some costumes for a young dance troupe who were doing some Irish dancing in competition. She made the dresses. You didn't like them. You want your money back. Ms. Smith says that you used the dresses, she delivered the dresses, and you owe her a balance. So I have a counterclaim. A few questions. Those, I assume, are the costumes.
These are some of them. We also have a dancer with us that's wearing one of the costumes.
When was the competition scheduled?
It was over Thanksgiving weekend of 2002.
And was this the first time that you were involved in this competition?
I've been involved in Irish dancing since 1969.
So you had ordered costumes before?
Yes.
But never from Miss Smith?
No, this was, I started out my own school this past year of May of 2002, and so we needed team dresses.
How did you find Miss Smith?
I looked in the Yellow Pages in Omaha as well as on the internet for an embroidery company because the dresses are all embroidered, and I started there.
Did you get references?
No.
Why not?
Because the way we went through the whole order process, she did some sample embroidery for me, and I paid for a sample dress to be made. And from those things, I proceeded with the order.
And you were satisfied?
I was satisfied with the direction
sample.
it was going, yes.
When did you get the sample?
I got the sample on September 12th, 2002.
Can I see the sample?
Yes.
Miss Smith, is this the sample dress that you made?
Yes, I believe it is.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, this was the first dress that was made, and actually when she
Just a second.
Okay.
This was the sample?
That's correct.
Exactly the way it is here?
No. The cuffs didn't actually fit around the sleeves, and they were needed for a competition, so I actually had to add some black so that they would actually be able to go around the sleeve.
You added the black?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Weekly says she hired Valerie Smith to make dresses for an Irish dancing competition. Patricia says the dresses were a disaster.
All right, so she got a dress. You got one of the costumes on September 12th. You were satisfied with it. You told her to proceed with the order. What happened?
After that, I had given her a sample of a dress, what Irish dancing dresses should look like, since this was a new project for Val. And she had the use of this dress. I provided her patterns, and we started working on the dress. There were some irregularities in that sample that she said she would actually remake it and was embarrassed of that dress. So I was confident, based on our conversations, that it would go in the right direction. We had appointments for 5 different fittings. She showed up at 2 of them. And on the first fitting she came, the dresses weren't done. There were 4 out of the 6, and they were in various states of completion, and tried them on the girls. Took measurements, made notes on things that needed to be fixed, and let down, taken up, taken in. And then...
when did she deliver the dresses to you?
It was somewhere between 10 and 10:30 p.m. on November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, at my home.
How many costumes did she deliver?
She delivered 6.
Did you look at them?
They were all bagged up on hangers, ready to go.
The answer is, did you look at them?
Not immediately, no.
So you didn't look at them before she left?
No.
When did you look at them?
After she left, it's nice to lay the dresses flat so the pleats hang. I looked at them right after.
On the 27th?
On the 27th, immediately after.
Okay. Did you call her on the 27th to register any dissatisfaction?
I didn't call her due to the fact that it was after 11 o'clock, but I sent her an email that I have expressing my dissatisfaction.
Okay. Do you have any picture, any photograph of what the dresses looked like?
Yes, I immediately took pictures.
Can I see them, please? Have you seen these photographs?
No, I have not.
I'd like to look at them.
Your Honor, if there's any way you could look at the dancer in the dress, the pictures are one thing, but to see one of my actual little girls that takes dancing for me in the dress is...
I'll do that in a minute.
Thank you.
Miss Smith, you would agree that some of those pictures are pretty miserable.
Yes, they are, Your Honor. This is the first I've seen of the dresses since they've been delivered.
Well, you must have seen them when you delivered them.
I did see them when I delivered them. Of course I did.
How do you explain that?
I'm embarrassed by those pictures, to say the least.
Right. Is the costume that you're going to show me now, had that been altered in any way by you before it was used?
No. There were some where we had to take zippers out to make them, try to have them hang straight. But we realized after we worked on them for 2 nights, all night, that there was really nothing we could do other than pin and tape and try to make them hang.
All right, so let me see the dress that you want to show me. You have a witness outside?
Yes, I do.
Okay, stay right there. Okay. Turn around. Oh, that's awful. I'm not you. You're adorable.
Oh, okay.
The dress doesn't fit. Okay, why don't you go have a seat? Okay. Did the girls use the dresses to dance?
Yes, they did. Given that the competition was the day after Thanksgiving, and half the team had left for Chicago.
Okay.
Nothing to do.
I'll hear you.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the first time I've seen the dresses. I did receive the complaint from Ms. Weekly, but this is the first time I've seen the dresses and the problems that are with those dresses. As I recall, when I delivered them, they were not in that type of condition. However, after they've settled, I don't know what could happen to that type of costume with the weight. The skirt
Stand up.
Rather heavy.
Stand up. Turn around.
Your Honor, this dress...
Shh. Sorry. Turn around. That doesn't fit.
No, that does not fit at all.
Right.
I agree with you.
And you wouldn't expect to be paid for that, would you?
Not in that condition, no, ma'am.
Okay. Sit down. And you delivered the costumes the day before they were scheduled to leave.
I delivered them by the day she specified I could deliver them the latest by.
And I understand that, but when you're delivering dresses at the last minute, you have to assume the consequences of them not being right.
Sure, I understand.
Of course. So she paid you $2,400. The dresses are awful. She gets her money back, and you get nothing. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
Thank you.
On the calendar, the matter of Burden versus Ashley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I've read your complaint very carefully, and these are the facts as I understand them. You wanted a child and found an attorney who suggested to you how you go about adopting a child, finding an infant to adopt. Somehow you were put in contact with the defendant, who was at that time 4 months pregnant, and at that time believed that she could not properly care for the baby and was interested in adoption. And over the course of her pregnancy, you provided certain living expenses for Miss Ashley, as well as certain medical insurance payments for her. And Miss Ashley then advised you that she had changed her mind and decided to keep the baby.
Correct.
Those are the facts. Is that right so far?
Mostly.
Well, tell me where I made a mistake.
The insurance payment, she had made the payment, but then she stopped payment on the check, so it wasn't actually made.
Okay. But other than that, she made whatever expenses that you had, amounting to, she says, about $4,000. And I understand how devastated you are, but you also probably understand that this is something that happens frequently.
Yes, it does.
So I have a few questions for you. In what month did you make contact with Miss Ashley?
September 2002.
And you spoke on the phone initially?
Correct. I was called on Friday, September 20th by the Adoption Law Center stating that there was a possibility of a birth mother. On Monday, September 23rd, Sarah and I spoke on the phone, maybe 30 to 45 minutes, questions and answers on both sides, what she was looking for, what thoughts I had. Then on Saturday, the 29th of September, we met in person at the hospital, talked further, just got to know each other.
And did you speak to Sarah directly with regard to making these living expense payments?
After I was told by the Adoption Law Center I had been chosen as the adoptive parent.
Where did that conversation take place?
Telephone in my house.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
She needed money immediately. I immediately went to Western Union. The first payment was to be $750. Which came out to be...
No. She said to you, I need money immediately.
Like, can you please send it Western Union instead of a check?
And you said what?
Yes.
And then you proceeded to send that money and other monies?
Correct.
Okay. So you sent a total of $4,000. When did she call you and tell you that she had changed her mind?
On January 28th, I received a call while I was at work on my cell phone. Sarah said, I have something I need to talk to you about. I know you will be upset. I've changed my mind. I'm keeping the baby. I was extremely upset.
You did, in fact, know, and you had been told, I'm sure, by the Adoption Law Center that these things happen frequently.
There's every chance that can happen. And as I said to Sarah on January 28th, I will not try to change your mind, but I do expect the monies that I gave you in good faith to be paid back.
Okay.
She agreed.
Oh, she agreed?
She agreed.
That's a different story. What did she say to you?
I should pay you the monies back. At that point, I probably did 90 miles an hour down Studebaker to get to my house.
Just a second. Did you tell Miss Burden that you would pay her back?
No, I didn't.
What did you tell her?
She did insist that I pay her back, and I told her I understood that she thought that I should pay her back, but I felt that I needed to talk to Adoption Law Center and find out if I was really, if
you were obligated to do it.
Exactly, if I was
obligated.
obligated.
You were obligated to do it. Okay, I have a few questions for you, Miss Ashley. Is this the first child that you've had?
Yes.
How many people sent you money during the course of your pregnancy?
Herself and the attorney at the Adoption Law Center sent me $100 prior to my choosing a family because I wasn't working.
Okay, but Miss Burden's family was the only family that you had selected.
Yes.
You didn't take money from 3 people for this baby.
No.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And tell me, if you can, when you decided that you wanted to keep your baby.
The night before I called her.
Baby wasn't born yet?
No.
You had a little girl? Mm-hmm. When was she born?
She was born February 27th.
Tell me, what was the deciding factor for you that you didn't want to give her up?
Mostly it was just that my entire situation from when I first got involved with the process of adoption had completely changed. When I had made the decision to go with adoption, I was being threatened of losing my place to live. I didn't have a job. I could barely take care of myself.
When did that change?
Probably when I was about 7 months pregnant is when I became pretty stable.
Is that when you decided to keep the baby?
No, I had still had that decision in my head. I was still thinking very logically, and it was just that getting closer to the end of the pregnancy, it became very emotional. You know, I'm showing more, becoming more attached to the baby. You know, they had given me the choice, did I want to have the baby in the room with me afterwards, things like that. Just, it became a lot more emotional than, you know, logical at that point.
I got you. How much prior to when you called Miss Burden did you actually make the decision to keep the baby?
Less than 12 hours, I would say.
Who is this?
This is my mother.
You living at home now?
Temporarily, yes.
Okay. With your daughter?
Yes.
You get along with your mother?
Yes.
Are you working?
Not right now. I'm still on maternity leave. The doctor has ordered me to stay for another 4 weeks.
But you have a job?
Yes.
Let me tell you why, Miss Burden, I'm asking these questions. I'm certain that you've been advised by the Adoption Law Center that these expenses are not reimbursable to you unless several things happen. One of those things, and the thing that I would find most legally objectionable, is if there was some fraud on Miss Ashley's part. If, for instance, she knew all along that she had no intention of giving up this child and fraudulently got you to pay expenses for her. I don't think that that's the case, listening to her. Another reason that I might find in your favor is if Miss Ashley had taken money from more than one prospective adoptive parent, because that too would have been fraudulent. But absent a contract or a loan that says this is merely a loan, get on your feet and then I will adopt your baby, but you're going to pay me this money back once you're able to work. The law does not permit us to prohibit her from changing her mind.
Exactly.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
he pushed me, and then they took off. And then when I was scratching up one of the CDs, they saw me through the window, so they came to the door and just kicked it in.
You leave 4 teenagers at home unsupervised, you expect trouble.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jody Burden says 19-year-old Sarah Ashley owes for the cost of a failed adoption. Sarah says she never agreed to pay.
So tell me why you pursue this case if you understand what the law is.
Because minutes after her phone call to me on January 28th, she also called the attorney at the Adoption Law Center, who then sent me a letter that states clearly that she also committed to him to repay back my monies.
Okay. But she says she didn't understand what her rights were. It's an emotional time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's under no obligation to pay back your money. And you were very upset at the time. So she says that she had to find out what her rights and responsibilities were. And I don't know what this person said to her because this person is not here.
Correct.
So, Ms. Burden, while it's a sad scenario, what happened to you, and you know that there are people out there who spent far more than the $4,000 that you've spent.
Oh, yes.
Tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and then been disappointed more than once. It happens. And it's sad that it happens, but it happens, and I can only hope Miss Ashley is going to give this little girl a good life, right? At least you can feel a little comfortable about that. She's young. She made a mistake. I don't think that she fraudulently took your money. I think that she had all intentions of letting her daughter come and be part of your home. She's allowed to change her mind. The law gives her that right. So your case is unfortunately dismissed. Good luck to both of you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that, you know, it was ruled the way it was because that's what's fair.
Young women should definitely think seriously before considering adoption. Really make sure that's what they want.
It was very difficult. It's my child, you know. I really didn't want to give her up, but I felt that that's the only choice I had.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Edwards versus Thorson, Salinas, step forward.
Medical assistant Chris Edwards is suing her neighbors, Pamela Salinas, and her common-law husband, David Thorson, for the cost to fix her door. Pamela and David are countersuing for the cost of CDs and the money they've already spent on the door.
Miss Edwards, according to what I've read, and I'm trying to piece this together, the defendant's two sons, I assume these two young men, were spending the night at your house with your children, daughter and your son, and they slept over.
Yes.
What date was that?
That would have been on the 13th.
Of what?
Of June of 2002.
So sometime on the 14th of June, they sort of got into an argument, pushing, shoving, whatever, and the boys left. So far, is that right?
Yes.
But when they left, they realized that they had left some of their CDs in your house. So they came back to get their CDs. But you had locked the door.
Yes.
You did? Or your sister?
It was me, but it wasn't the door, it was the sliding link.
You had locked the door?
Yes.
So that they couldn't get back in?
No.
Yes. And you knocked at the door?
At first.
And then when they didn't let you back in, who kicked the door in? Raise your hand. You did. So you contacted the parents, he tried to fix the door, didn't do it to your liking, you had to fix yourself. You want the parents to pay for the door frame, whatever. And you have a counterclaim for the CDs, and then a piece of the counterclaim for the work that you put in fixing the door, which you don't get because you volunteered to do that. Do you understand, sir?
I understand, yes.
Good,
on that.
perfect. But you have a counterclaim for the CDs. So I have some particular questions for you, Miss Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
You were home on the evening of the 13th?
That's correct.
Were you home in the morning of the 14th?
No, I wasn't.
Where were you?
I was at work.
What time did you leave for work?
7 o'clock.
Who was supervising the children?
They were unsupervised.
How old are they?
My daughter's 15 and my son is 14.
And how old are the defendant's children?
I believe 14 and 13 or 14 and 15.
Have they slept over at your house before?
Never.
Was this a weekend or a weekday?
It was a weekday, however, school was out.
So you left the children unsupervised at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Had you told the boys' parents that the children were going to be unsupervised?
The children knew that I worked.
Had you told the boys' parents that the children were going to be unsupervised?
No.
Do you believe that you have any I'm not talking about these boys for kicking in the door. That's a no-no, right? That was the wrong thing to do, correct?
Yes.
What kind of responsibility do you think you have? Not him. He did the wrong thing. You understand that?
Yes.
You leave 4 teenagers at home unsupervised, you expect trouble.
I leave 2 at home daily.
You may leave 2 at home daily, and if one of your children damages some of your property, you know, either by accident or on purpose or because they lost their temper or because they weren't thinking, then I assume you don't sue them, you take care of it, right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference between leaving 2 teenagers home that belong to you and taking the risk because they're your kids and you know who they are, and leaving 4 teenagers home, 2 of whom you don't know. They've never slept at your house before, right? So you don't think you have any responsibility?
I believe that I hold responsibility to my son's actions.
No. They entrusted you with their children overnight. I would have assumed that they would not let their children sleep at your house unless they knew you were home.
They did know I worked.
Just a second. Unless they knew you were home, they would not have allowed their children to stay at your house. They assumed, and I'm not even asking you the question, they assumed that the children were going to be supervised. They weren't. So you bear part of the responsibility for what happened, Miss Edwards. You may not believe that, but I'm telling you, you do. You didn't do the right thing. If one of their children was injured in your house at 7 o'clock in the morning when you left for school, you would be responsible. You invited them into your house, and you have a responsibility to supervise them. Unless you specifically speak to their parents and say, I will not be home after 7 o'clock in the morning. Could you please come over and stay with the kids? Or I'm going to send the boys home at 7 o'clock, because I think 4 teenagers home alone can sometimes be a little bit much unsupervised. So that's not excusing his behavior, but it doesn't excuse your son's behavior. It doesn't excuse your responsibility.
Your Honor, I had the understanding that the children would go home when I went to work.
Did you wake them up and send them home?
No.
That's why they're called teenagers. Because they don't do what they're told. He did the wrong thing by locking them out, because all he had to do was say, here are your CDs, right? And then wouldn't have any trouble. He did the wrong thing. He kicked in your door, damaged your property. None of it would have happened if you were home. If you were home and you heard the banging on the door, you would have answered the door. He said to you, Miss Edwards, I want my CDs. What would you have done?
I would have returned them.
Case closed. Finished. We wouldn't be here.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Then I understand you went to the defendant's home. He agreed to come and help fix the door. He did it, but he didn't do it to your satisfaction. It was not the finished job, so you went and hired someone else to do the job. How much did it cost to fix the door?
It cost $285.
Well, you're suing him for $235.
He made one payment in the amount of $50.
Okay. $285, and in my judgment, you're responsible for half of the door. Is that fair?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes, definitely.
That's fair. That to me is fair. Divided by 2 equals 142.5. Less 50, 92.50. That's what you owe for the door. 92.50. Now let's hear about your counterclaim.
PJ, the youngest son here, I had recently received a CD from his brother, one of his older brothers. He had made the CD with all his favorite songs, had a couple CDs that he had gotten from a previous Christmas and a previous birthday.
So he made one CD out of his favorite music. Is that what you left at the house?
Yes.
Just one CD?
No, 3.
3. How many CDs were left at the house?
3.
What'd you do with them?
We have them with us.
Did you damage any of them?
I damaged one of them.
Why?
I was angry.
Stand up. What's your first name?
Rick.
Take your hands out of your pockets. Good. Did you damage the CD before or after he broke the door?
Before.
What were you angry at?
Because we had gotten into argument, he pushed me, and then they took off. And then when I was scratching up one of the CDs, they saw me through the window, so they came to the door and just kicked it in.
They saw you scratching up the CD through the window?
Yes, and that's why they kicked it in.
Okay. Bird, would you see to it that the 2 CDs that are okay are returned, please?
Sure thing.
How much do you think that CD that you scratched up is worth?
Maybe $10 to $15.
That's what it's worth, $10 or $15?
Yes.
Fine, we'll take 15. I've deducted 15 from 92.50. That leaves 77.50. Go buy yourself a new CD and go fix your door. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $77.50. That's it.
In the matter of Dotson versus Lopez Gomez, parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ladies. Have seats.
Is this your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dotson, according to what I read in your complaint, you and Mr. Lopez were in a relationship.
Correct.
That relationship terminated.
Correct.
On a date, which you will tell me, you went to the hairdressing shop.
Correct.
Owned by Miss Gomez.
Yes.
Where Mr. Lopez, her brother, works as
Correct.
a hairdresser.
Correct.
You went there for some reason about a bill or cell phone or something.
To give him
And an altercation happened when you were there. You claimed that you were injured by Mr. Lopez, who cut you with the scissors in the face, and that when you were taken to the hospital, you were arrested there on assault charges, trespass, etc., on a complaint by both Miss Gomez and Mr. Lopez. So you are suing them both for your medical bills,
correct,
as well as for the false arrest.
Correct.
And they say that you came in there and caused the disturbance, and the injuries that you sustained were a result of a disturbance that you caused.
Incorrect.
Is that pretty much it? Okay. How long were you and Mr. Lopez in a relationship?
6 months.
And at what point did this relationship terminate?
When he took my truck and said he was going to go home because he had to go home early and go to work, and that he had to go to work the next morning, and instead he took my truck to his ex-boyfriend's house to do crystal.
When was that? That's more information than I needed. I needed a date.
That was, okay, like the week before the 24th, so go back a week from the 24th.
When and why did you go to the hair salon?
Because he left his Social Security card and his driver's license and clothes and shoes and CDs at my house. And I called him and I told him I wanted to still be friends. Why don't you come and get your stuff, come over, and let's still be friends. And he said, talked to me, and he said we'd still be friends. And he called me the next day, which he...
He didn't or he did?
He didn't call me the next day.
Did not call you the next day?
No, he said he would and he didn't.
Okay, so he didn't call you back. Go ahead.
So when he didn't call me back the next day, I wrote him a letter, and also I gave him a cell phone bill that he was supposed to pay.
Where did you give him that bill?
I was going to give him the bill at the salon because he couldn't get a cell phone bill in his own name, so he had a cell phone that I had in my name.
So he had a cell phone bill, and what else? That you were going to give him a letter that you wrote to him?
A letter that I wrote to him that I still wanted to be friends.
Okay, so you had a cell phone bill and a letter, and you went to the salon.
And I went to the salon.
What date did you go to the salon?
The 24th of January.
What time?
11:30.
What happened when you got there?
Ursula was there.
Ursula. Who's Ursula? Raise your hand, Ursula.
She's not here.
Ursula's not here.
Ursula was one of the hairdressers. And Ursula, I was just going to drop off the letter and not wait because he was supposed to be there at 11 and it was 11:30 and I had to work at 2 o'clock. So I was just going to leave the letter, and Ursula insisted that I stay and wait for Tony. He'd be in at 12 and just wait for him. And then I decided to go sit in my truck and have a cigarette. Well, they drove up in the car and Tony got out. So I finished my cigarette. I went in and sat down and he ignored me, and he was already cutting a client's hair. And he said, how come you didn't call me? I said, I did call you, and your mother hung up on me. After that, I said, how come you didn't call me?
And all this time he's cutting somebody's hair?
And he's cutting somebody's hair.
He's having this conversation while he's cutting somebody's hair?
Right.
Hate to be that client.
I
told him to please go, Your Honor.
I'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then I said, how come you didn't call me? And then he says, you stupid, dumb all. And that's when I got up and I said, what did you say to me? And that's when he started cutting me up with his scissors, and I started blocking off like this, and he cut me here, cut me here, cut me here, cut me here, and blocked me off and blocked me out into the back of the door.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Dotson claims ex-boyfriend Tony Lopez attacked him with a pair of scissors. Dean says Tony then had him thrown in jail.
Can I see the hospital report, please?
And the pictures. And these pictures were taken 5 days afterwards, Your Honor.
Okay.
So that was 5 days after being in jail, and also I was harmed in jail too, violently harmed in jail while I was incarcerated.
Okay. Do I have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
And a restraining order.
And me what I asked for.
And Your Honor, I'd like to see that police report because I never got to see it.
Show it to you. Okay. This is a copy of the police report. Mr. Dotson wanted to see it. Listen to me carefully, Mr. Dotson. Both you and Mr. Lopez were present before the judge on the 19th of February of this year. The court made certain findings at that time. And did you have a hearing at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And after the hearing, the court granted Mr. Lopez a protective order against you, sir, until February 19th, 2004. Did you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. But everything he said on there was false, too. It was false statements. And everything that's in here is false statements, too. This is all. There was no F word said.
Mr. Dotson, I have a few questions for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you were in treatment for any sort of substance abuse?
I don't do substance abuse. I have a drinking problem.
I know it's a drinking problem, Mr. Dotson. I can tell. Drinking is a substance problem, sir. Alcohol, when abused, is a substance problem. Yeah. On the date when you went to the hair salon, sir, I want you to think very carefully. You went in, he wasn't there yet. You went out to the truck to have a cigarette.
Right.
How much alcohol did you drink in the truck?
I didn't drink any alcohol in the truck. I drank the night before.
What about the morning?
I hadn't drank in the morning.
Did you drink this morning, sir?
No, ma'am. I've been 12 days sober, and I'm going to a psychiatrist right now. And I have the paperwork for it.
You take anti-abuse?
I take Depakote every night at 8 o'clock, 1,000 milligrams. But everything that is in this report is false.
Mr.
He's a
Lopez, do
substance
you want to
abuser.
tell me, sir,
Substance abuser.
do you want to tell me, sir, your version of the events of that day in the hair salon, please?
Okay, I came into work and I was working on my customer, Diana.
Now, at the time that you came into work, listen to me very carefully. At the time that you came into work, first you have to go in.
Yeah.
Did you see him inside?
No. He came in maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, and I told him to please leave.
No, he didn't. Ursula told me to come in.
And what happened when you told him to leave?
He came in from behind and put me in a headlock, and I have with my scissors in my hand, I start fighting my way out. Not wanting to scratch him or hurt him, but that's the only thing I had to do.
Ultimately, he left when he saw he was bleeding, according to the police.
I had to push him out the door where a couple of my other customers helped me keep him away from
Who called
while
the police?
cops showed up. Ursula?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to a prior incident that happened around Christmas time. What happened at Christmas time?
He was just making harassing calls, saying that he would kill me and my family, burn down my house.
That's why he was with me on Christmas, New Year's Day and New Year's Eve at my house eating dinner.
When I tried calling 911, and his niece, Tamara, was there, who just laughed when I called 911.
Because he wasn't hurt, he was drunk. And she was there to testify that I didn't say any of those things. She was there at the time. She lived with us.
Just a second. She was there on January 24th?
Yeah, she went January 24th and went back to the shop and went to the truck and saw that there was no scratches on this young man. And she took the truck to get my truck that was at the salon.
Listen to me.
Yes,
ma'am. The police officer saw scratches on his arm.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Did she come to the jail with your mother?
Yeah, she did.
How come you left that out of your story, Mr. Hunter?
I don't know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Dotson claims ex-boyfriend Tony Lopez attacked him with a pair of scissors. Dean says Tony then had him thrown in jail.
You had no business going over to the shop that day, given the fact that there was already a temporary restraining order.
No, there wasn't. Oh, this was after the fact. No, this came after the fact. The restraining order came after I got out of jail, after 5 days after I was released out of jail. So there was no restraining order on me at the time.
So is what you're telling me, sir, the application for the restraining order was made as a result of this incident? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling them, yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
And that, because it's not really clear here, and that when the judge conducted a hearing on February 19th, it was with regard to this incident.
To the hair topic incident. Not to the Christmas incident. No, yeah, it was to the Christmas incident, but he put this into the Christmas incident, but I didn't receive it till after the day after I got out of jail.
Mr. Dotson, don't have anything to do with him anymore. The court has already determined to grant an order of protection to the defendant based upon a hearing, and I find no reason to disturb that. I don't think that you belonged in the shop that day. I don't know what your sobriety level was like that day. I don't care what Ursula did or did not say to you. You were told to leave the shop when he got in there. I don't know whether you were drinking or not in the... I'm speaking. I don't know whether you were drinking or not in the truck, sir. I could certainly tell, merely by looking at you and watching your demeanor, that you have an alcohol abuse problem. And I'm telling you, Mr. Dotson, that it doesn't sound right to me that you went into your truck to have a cigarette, to wait for him. You waited for him and gave him sufficient time to start working on somebody and then went inside to the salon. Somebody who has an alcohol abuse problem needs a little bit of courage before they go in to confront somebody, and that's what I believe that you did. Anyway, your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's very confused right now. I'm sure he was drinking, so you can't really believe anything that somebody drinking says.
It's Tony who's has a drug and alcohol problem, and I think he's slightly, mildly mentally retarded.
He left about 30 phone calls, voicemails in about a couple hours, and he's just got strong emotional problems.
He's the one that needs help, not me. At least I'm getting help. He's still a doper and a drug addict and an alcoholic.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harder versus Hunter. Step forward, please.
20-year-old certified nursing assistant Mary Lou Harder is suing her former friend, 19-year-old Sean Hunter, for an unpaid loan for bail. Sean claims the money was supposed to be a friendly gesture.
Ms. Harder, you claim a loan to the defendant for bail.
Yeah.
He was arrested for something he's going to tell me about. Mr. Hunter said that while you did post his bail for him, he never asked you to do it. It was not a loan. It was a gift. That's your defense, sir.
Yes.
What were you in jail for?
Aiding and abetting, which they overcharged it.
Aiding and abetting a what?
Assault.
Is this the first time you were arrested?
Yes, it was.
And what was the charge, sir?
They booked us with kidnapping and robbery.
Who's us?
Me and my two co-defendants.
They friends of yours?
Not anymore.
Tell me about the incident.
Well, I was living out in Nampa, Idaho, and I went and hung out with them, and his girlfriend got a call from one of their friends. You want to come to Boise, hang out, and we'll go have fun, go get my grandma's car. We said, okay, sure. So we went to Boise, picked him up. He said, we can't get my grandma's car until my mom leaves. We're like, why? He goes, because my mom can't know I'm taking it. So we asked him, okay, so you want to steal the car for you? He's like, yes. And we told him, no, we're not going to do that. Give us the gas money you promised us, and we're going to go home. And he ended up calling the cops and getting us arrested.
This other so-called friend of yours claimed that you had kidnapped him?
The kid who called us to Boise said that we just, because he had my friend's girlfriend's cell phone and was using it. And we told him, give us the cell phone back so you can go, because we're tired of arguing with you. And he just called the cops and got us arrested.
The charges were subsequently dismissed?
Yeah.
Were they dismissed, or
Yes,
did you
they
plead
were.
guilty?
I pled guilty to aiding and abetting. Sorry.
Now, how do you know him?
We're friends.
Okay, and when you got arrested, your bail was set at $25,000, $2,500 cash. Is that right?
Yes.
And how much money did you have?
I didn't have any, so I asked her defendant, Mike.
He's not a defendant.
Or
he's a witness.
Her witness, Mike.
You know, you really have to get the players fixed in a court case.
Yeah.
You're the defendant. She's the plaintiff. That's a witness.
Okay.
Court officer.
Judge.
Judge. Got it?
Got it.
So you called your friend Mike.
And I asked him to go downtown, talk to all my friends, get money to get me out. The next day, the bondsman came to me, signed me out of jail. Mary Lou's all, guess what? I asked her what. She goes, I bonded you out. And at the time, she never said, you got to pay me back right now.
Just a minute.
Or anything.
Hold on a second. Okay. Step up here. You are Michael.
Yeah.
What did he say when he called you?
He asked me to call his friends, like he said, and try to get some money, a bail amount.
Did you get any money?
And no, I didn't.
He has poor friends, or they don't like him, or what?
No, I couldn't get a hold of them. Been tied to their cell phones and everything. I couldn't get a hold of them.
So how did Mary Lou get involved in this?
His mom asked her to help out with the money, and
So his mother asked you to help. Is that right?
Sean, actually, we went over to the jail and saw him, found out what was going on. He asked me if he could borrow some money, and I said yes, I could loan him the money, the $1,250. I couldn't pay the full $2,500, and his mom agreed to pay the rest.
Did she come to jail to see you?
I don't remember asking her to loan
I
me the
didn't
money.
ask you whether you asked her for anything. I said, did she come to the jail with your mother?
Yeah, she did.
How come you left that out of your story, Mr. Hunter?
I don't know.
So it wasn't a total surprise to you. So the next thing you saw was not the plaintiff and your mother, and you didn't know how she got there. She had come to visit you in jail, and you spoke to her, and you spoke to your mother, and I'm sure you were anxious to get out of jail, and I'm sure you said, are you going to be able to bail me out? Does that sound right?
No, I just asked her to ask my friends to keep trying to get a hold of him so I can get out.
Now you remember distinctly.
Yeah.
How much does he owe you?
He owes me a total of $1,328.13.
So why didn't you pay it back?
Because I was out of a job and...
Are you in a job now?
No, I'm not.
Well, how do you support yourself?
My parents are helping me right now.
What do you do all day?
I look for a job and I help a friend with his job.
How long has it been since you've worked, sir?
It's been about a month and a half.
So prior to that, you were working?
Yes.
At what?
I was working at Bogus Basin, but I was trying to pay back the bondsman the rest of the money I owed him.
What about her?
I was going to pay her back.
There we go. Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,328. Bye.
These are found in the matter of Williams versus Torres Punzo. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Williams, you and the defendants used to be neighbors. I gather you've moved from the apartment that you used to have?
Yes.
According to your complaint, the defendants embarked upon a course of conduct which amounted to malicious prosecution by filing a series of police reports against you. And that was in retaliation, according to you, for you calling in a hit-and-run charge against them when they hit someone's car in the parking lot in your complex.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendants say that everything that they complained about with regard to your conduct was true. The fact that they decided to drop all of the charges and just move has nothing to do with the fact that when they made those police reports, everything that they complained of was accurate. Okay. How long had you been neighbors?
I lived in the building for 7 years.
How long did you live there?
A year.
And when did you see them allegedly hit this other car?
June 22nd. It was about 12:25 a.m.
Who was driving the car?
Mr. Salvatore Punzo.
Who is that? Me. That's you. And was Mr. Torres the passenger?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so?
Well, there was somebody else in the car, and I'm not sure exactly if he was sitting in the front seat or back seat, but he was a passenger in the car.
But Mr. Punzo was driving?
Correct.
What kind of car was he driving?
It's a Tracker, looks like a small green Jeep.
And there's no question in your mind that it was the defendant, Mr. Punzo?
Absolutely.
Driving. What did you see him do?
I had gotten into my car. I was going to the store, and my car was in the dark in a driveway, so they couldn't have known that I was there.
Don't tell me what they did. Just tell me what you saw.
I saw the defendant's car pull up across the driveway where I was parked and bump into another car. Now, after they bumped it, they kind of rolled back a little bit, and then they pushed into the bumper. I'm thinking that they were just creating a parking spot. I don't know what the intent was, but they pushed the car up some 7 or 8 feet.
And then did they leave their car there?
It was left there.
So what did you do?
I was just kind of shocked. I got out of my car and walked over to see if there was damage on the car. Mr. Punzo was walking away from the car, and he turned around and saw me, and he said, "What?" And I said to him, "Are you going to just hit this car and walk away?" And he said, "I didn't hit that car." And I said, "Yes, you did." And he became a little bit irate. He told me to mind my own business. He called me fat and old and stupid looking and turned around and just left. And at that point, I said, well, I'm just going to call the police.
Now, what actions do you attribute to the defendants with regard to this malicious prosecution?
There were a number of things that would happen. They would walk by my balcony. I had several instances where my car had damage, things of that nature.
Tell me about the prosecution, sir. What did they charge you with?
Harassment. On the 1st of August, they had called the police and said that I had called their home the night before 3 different times and threatened that I was going to get their car. They also called the next day because allegedly their car had been broken into.
And they said that you were responsible for that?
Yes, they did.
You have a copy of those reports?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please.
This is the copy of the incident report with some reductions, naturally, from the police department as a defendant. I don't have right to see a lot of those things.
Mr. Punzo, whatever happened with the car that you allegedly hit?
Okay, first of all, he had to change the glass because that night it wasn't Joe, the one that was in the car with me. It was my other friend.
Did you hear my question, sir?
What was your question?
Don't be a wise guy with me. It's not going to go here.
Okay.
Do you understand? The question was, what happened with the car that you allegedly hit on June 22nd?
Nothing. The police asked me, like, did you hit the car? I said, I just bumped a little bit in the car when I was trying to park.
Whose car was it?
Somebody else's that we don't even know. So we left a note on the windshield, as the police indicate, with our number and our address.
And the police left? Is that right?
They left.
And then they left? And you went back to your house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and left a note on the car? Right. Sure you did. Okay. Go ahead.
With that report and a series of photographs, the defendants tried to get a permanent restraining order against me. The judge did not give them a restraining order. However, she did say that if they wanted an anti-harassment order stating that I would not call their house, that she was going to grant me the exact same identical thing, which she did. A copy of both reports. Mine's on the bottom.
What happened next?
6 weeks later, the letter and the summons charging me with harassment that I had to appear in court, that I was facing 1 year in prison. That
Right, okay.
I went through the entire legal system, pre-trials, intakes, attorneys, continuance hearings, and 5 days before the jury trial, my attorney approached the prosecution to give them some idea of the history of this case, and that I was bringing a transcript of that hearing to the jury trial, and the next day they came back and dismissed the case without prejudice. The docket, the city has put on here their reasoning for why they dismissed the case. Sometime between the conversation between my attorney and the city's attorney, and the next day, the witnesses became uncooperative. And in the police report, Mr. Torres claims to have called the police, reported that things were stolen out of his car. Yet in the hearing itself, Mr. Punzo testified that he was the one that called the police and that nothing in his car was taken. His wallet and his passport were in the floorboard of the car, but that his passport was ripped up. I have a photograph of the defendant's passport in the floorboard of their car, and it does not look ripped up.
How did you get that photograph?
He submitted it in court.
Can I see it? Got it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He started, like, talking, like insulting. And so I totally exploded of that. And I told him, like, you know what's your problem? You need attention because you're fat and ugly.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Williams says former neighbors Joe Torres and his boyfriend Salvatore Punzo filed false charges of harassment against him.
Okay, anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Williams?
I'm done.
Good. Go. Who's speaking?
Well, just want to say that we lived there. We started becoming roommates with, friends with his roommate, and that's when it all started. His roommate let us know that he was out of a job, and I don't know if it had something to do with the way he acted towards us and wanted to get in our lives and, make up,
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Let's not make more of this than what it is, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You weren't in the car, according to Mr. Punzo.
I was not.
The plaintiff says he saw Mr. Punzo hit another car, which he did. Now, whether he tapped it or hit it and actually moved it doesn't make a difference. He hit another car, and he was walking away without checking the damage, without leaving his name and number. Put your hand down, I'm speaking. So Mr. Williams said, what are you doing? Now, I don't know whether Mr. Punzo opened up a fresh mouth to him. Like, what are you looking at? Which is what he says. Based upon Mr. Punzo's prior statement in court, let him get glasses. It wasn't Mr. Torres, I think is what he said. So he's got a fresh mouth. To the judge, he's got a fresh mouth. In the parking lot, who knows what he might have said. But he certainly didn't say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I had hit it. Right, Mr. Punzo? And you weren't there. So what I want to know is what it is that you complained of, and why is it that you decided to drop these charges 5 days before the trial?
I did bump the other car. I didn't bump it 8 feet. So then when I got off the car, I went and I looked. There was no damage to that car.
Really? What time was it that you looked at?
That was like right after I parked the car.
What time of the day?
That was at night, like around midnight.
When it was dark?
Yeah, when it was dark.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I went there and I looked at the car and I passed my hand to see if there was any, and there was nothing. And then he said, like, what are you doing? That's a felony. And I said, like, what? There's nothing wrong with the car. And then he said, well, I'm calling the police. And I said, like, well, do what you have to do. And then I went to my apartment. Then the police came in and all that. We filled up the report. And then he started, like, talking, like insulting. So I insulted him back.
Well, what did he say to you?
He started calling me, like, homosexual slangs. And I said, like, how can you dare to call me homosexual slang?
So what did you call him?
I call him back names.
Okay, so now the two of you were calling each other names. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't really care about that part. The part that I care is when he started discriminating me with racial discrimination, like calling me like, you Mexican, go back to Puerto Rico.
Well, he's getting his geography wrong.
Yeah. And then he said, like, you need to get out of this country because that's the bad thing in this country. I said, first of all, my nationality is not Mexican, not Puerto Rican, and for your information, Puerto Rico is U.S. territory.
So you gave him a good geography lesson.
Exactly. Then the other part that he said that he was hanging in his balcony, I was coming back from the track, and he was talking with his friend on the phone, and he started saying on the phone like something, oh yeah, this like Nelly, that is like 5 foot Nelly. He was referring to me. And I said, like, what are you talking about? Say, yeah, they think that they can do whatever they want, hit the car and get away with that. But they're going to get evicted. And then I went in front of his balcony because he lives on the first floor. I said, like, what is wrong with you? Can you leave us alone? We went to the police, we did the report, and then he went back again with the Mexican and this and that, and go back to your country and blah, 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 blah. And so I totally exploded of that. And I told him, like, you know what? You know what's your problem? You need attention because you're fat and ugly. And I am sorry that I insulted him like that. But
we're not talking
I
about
got
you
really
insulting
hurt.
him. We're talking about malicious prosecution.
Well, he said that we totally malicious prosecution to him. Like, how do you feel like working from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., going back home and being called, being there all the time? So I told Joe.
So you told Joe and you called the police.
I called the police.
What happened next?
Then after that, my car appeared the next morning, like the soft top was ripped off, everything. The car's been parked there 6 months before, never happened. It's being parked after all this incident, and nothing happened. I will leave the car even open on the street, and nothing will happen.
Well, you're one of the few people in the United States of America who leaves their car open and their wallet inside, sir.
And then that day, I went to the car.
What day?
2 days after we have the incident.
You mean in June?
Mm-hmm.
June 24th?
Yeah, there was the date when he was in his balcony. So then after 2 days of that, I assumed that he was the one that did it because...
Maybe it was the owner of the car that you hit in the parking lot.
No.
How do you know?
Because, first of all, we left our number and everything. He could have called us.
No, I don't believe you did, sir.
We didn't. Then after that, we went back to our apartment and we were watching through the window, and the only person that was around the other car was Mr. Williams.
Mm-hmm. So you think he might have taken the note off?
We don't even know if the note has been taken off or not.
But you also don't know who damaged your car, right?
We do have him threatening us, saying that he would. We're going to feel what it's like.
Oh, really? Tell me about who got that phone call.
I got one of the phone calls.
When was that?
Well, here it's 7:31.
7:31, sir, is 6 weeks later.
This is a different incident. This is a different.
I'm talking about this incident.
That didn't happen at that incident.
Well, he says it happened 2 days later, 2 days after June 22nd.
There was 2 different incidents. One
Fine.
was a scratch.
Who got the phone call?
I received one of them.
In July.
And 7:31.
Tell me what the phone call said.
You're going to know what it feels like.
Really? And Mr. Williams identified himself?
No, he didn't say, but the ID caller did.
That doesn't help me, sir. You have a copy of that telephone call?
I don't have
that
the copy.
message?
I just have the photograph of the ID.
Did you ever call him and threaten him?
Absolutely not.
No, I don't believe that you did. I don't believe you're a stupid man.
But I can explain exactly what did happen.
Go ahead.
My roommate at the time, Ammon Taylor, was having problems with his car that day. He hadn't called them in sometime before, hadn't called them sometimes after, but he called them 3 times on July the 31st from my phone.
Why, sir?
My starter was out, and I needed somebody to help me push start my car so I could go get it fixed.
So you called them?
I did call them. I had known them from before.
Did you make any threatening statements to them?
No, they never answered the phone, and I never left the message on their voicemail.
Okay. My question is, you filed the complaints and you accused him of doing it. And I assume you wanted vindication. Is that right? Vindication.
Your Honor, we wanted him away from us entirely. We wanted to get away from him.
I assume you wanted vindication. So what I don't understand is, after you've gone through the entire process, what made you drop the charges 4 days before the trial?
Okay, actually, I was the one that I told Joe, just let's forget about it.
Why 4 days before the trial?
Because, Your Honor, Salvatore has a lot of stress, okay? And we go to the doctor because he has ulcers in his mouth.
Well, then maybe if you had gone to trial, which would have lasted 1 day, all the stress would have been gone.
But it keeps lasting
I have
on
a
and
note
on.
from my doctor saying what caused my stress and what caused all my ulcers in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah.
Your doctor was able to say that? I wish I look. Let me see. I usually don't look at these notes, but I would like to look at this note to see this genius. This is somebody who should get a Nobel Prize. He can tell you what caused the stress. Let's see. To whom it may concern. Stress. You get the situation from stress, right? Mm-hmm. When was the first time in your life that you suffered from this kind of stress that caused
in
this
July last year.
And so you're telling me this situation is the situation that caused stress in your life?
Part of it. A big part of it.
What was the other part, sir?
Well, being discriminated. That's the big part of it.
I don't believe you.
Well, I believe myself because I felt the discrimination.
I don't believe you, sir. If it's true that the ulcers in your mouth were caused by stress, this wasn't the stress. And when you said part of it, you want to give me what the other part was or not?
Well, the regular life and then plus all this incident have to live 24 hours with this.
I think you're a wise guy, Mr. Punzo. And I think that you created a situation and made complaint against Mr. Williams in retaliation for him creating a problem for you with the police by reporting to the police that you had hit a car in a parking lot and didn't stop. I, A, do not believe that you went over to the car to check for damage. B, I do not believe that you went over to the car and took your hand and rubbed it across the bumper to see if there were any scratches. Don't believe you did that at all. Because I think that if you did that, I don't think that he would have gotten involved. What I think happened is you got out of the car and you just walked away. And I think that it irritated him. And I think that Mr. Williams may have overreacted at certain times and said things that he shouldn't have. I think that he did. And I think that you overreacted and said things that you shouldn't have. I believe that that happened too. I believe that you both said certain things that were hurtful and not neighborly to one another. Is that true, Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Is that true, sir?
Yes.
Fine. But then you took it a step further. And the step further was that you started to make police reports against him. And the reason that I'm comfortable that you did that in retaliation for him filing a police report against you is that 4 days before the trial you decided to drop the charges after he had already been substantially inconvenienced.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did it cost you, Mr. Williams?
I had no legal fees. My attorney was accounted through Associated Counsel for the Accused.
Okay. You're not supposed to abuse the legal system. The legal system is not for childish vendettas. When boys prank against each other, that's their business. When they use the court system and the police department to do that, that's something else. He can call you names, you can call him names, he can talk about where you come from, he can tell you to go back to where you came from. Those are all nasty things. That does not require a call to the police and accusing him of the commission of a crime. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500, Jeff, to be drawn to your favorite charity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Crosby versus Edwards-Lee. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Crosby, according to what I've read, the defendant, who was a friend of yours,
yes,
did a very, very nice thing. You and your husband were being evicted from an apartment, and she said that you could come and stay with her.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you did?
Yes, I did.
How long did you stay with her?
It was almost a month, maybe, well, right at a month.
At a month?
Because we moved in on the 15th.
Did she have a really big house?
It was a one-bedroom townhouse.
So it wasn't as if she had a big sprawling place?
No.
Where do you know her from?
The same complex.
So you stayed with her for a little more than a month. She was a nice gal. And then you say that when she told you to leave or when you were leaving, she kept some of your stuff.
Yes.
Mostly your jewelry.
No, it was most clothing, more clothing and jewelry.
And that she ruined some of your property.
Yes.
This person who had done really nice things for you all of a sudden decided to become psychotic. So I'd like you to tell me why you think that that would happen.
Okay, when Wilbur and I moved in with Regina, she offered us to move in. I told Regina that we weren't going to be there long, okay? She offered us a place to stay until we got up on our feet. I did get me a storage, and my storage was full, and what I had left, she said that I could bring it down to her house, I have a listing of things that were brought down to her house. I have pictures of things that were ruined.
Just get to what happened.
We moved in, okay. Then came January 13th, we were going to move out. Regina was at work. Wilbur and I stayed there. We was going to inform Regina that we were moving out, which I told her we weren't going to stay long. We weren't staying long. So we started packing our things. We got our first load.
Well, you didn't tell her, just a second. You didn't tell her the day before that you were planning to move out the next day?
I feel like I didn't have to because I told her from the beginning that we weren't planning on
Just
being there
answer
long.
my question, Mrs. Crosby. You stay with this lady for a month. You decide to leave January 13th. You're living in a small one-bedroom apartment. You don't tell her the day before, by the way, thanks, just listen to me.
Okay.
By the way, thanks for everything. We're going to be moving tomorrow. Or 2 days before, thanks for everything. And you say you didn't feel as if you had to. I just want to understand you. You say you didn't feel as if you had to tell her anything about you moving.
I told her we weren't planning on staying long. And we moved
Okay.
out. Regina left
Fine.
a note.
Fine.
She left a note asking for $50 to pay a bill, a phone bill or electric bill or something like that. She left a note on the counter.
What did the note say, Miss Lee?
The note said, please clean up this mess, because I had cleaned my house that Friday, which was the 10th. Before I left one job, came home, packed to go to my other job. And when I left, the house was clean. When I returned on the 12th with my boss to pick up some extra clothing because the girl that was supposed to come in behind me, she didn't show because she was sick. So she asked me, well, Virginia, do you need me to take you and pick up some extra things? I said yes. So she took me home, and when I walked in, there was a blanket, a coat in the middle between my couch and my bookshelf. There were beer cans on the kitchen counter where her microwave was, stretched across my microwave. And I was like, wait a minute. I know I cleaned up before I left.
She's speaking. So you left her a note and said, clean up this mess.
Clean up this mess. And let her know that I needed some money to pay, like she said, a bill.
Had she given you any money, she or her husband, in the month that they were there?
They gave me $50. That was the only money that I had received from them.
Okay. Go ahead.
In that process, when I left on that 12th, I got up the next morning from my client's house. I went.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm trying to start my own business, which is a home health care business. So I'm going to a meeting at my other job, which I do CNA work at my other job.
What's CNA?
Certified Nurse's Assistant. So when I got to my job, I hung out with some...
When did you go home?
I went home about 4:30.
What did you find when you got home?
When I got home, I noticed that her television was gone. Her clothes upstairs that leads from my stairs to my bedroom, where I have another closet, those clothes were gone. And I went downstairs. The clothes that she had downstairs were down there. And the stuff that she had in my storage was still in my storage.
Did she leave you a note?
She left me a note saying that she was coming back to pick up the rest of her things. She didn't say when, she just
When
said.
did you come back to pick up the rest of your things?
I came back that same night.
On the 13th?
On the 13th, which was a Monday.
And did you take any of your stuff?
Yes, I did. Clothing that was in the upstairs closet. My TV sat downstairs and in the small closet.
And where were you moving to?
I was moving to my sister's house.
Fine. What items do you claim that Miss Lee still has that belongs to you?
I have a leather coat.
Do you have her leather coat?
No, ma'am.
What's next?
Okay, some CDs.
Do you have any of her CDs?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead. What else?
Okay, I have 2 black Sanyo speakers.
Do you have any speakers that belong
no,
to her?
ma'am.
Go ahead.
2-piece brown leather suit, olive gator print leather suit, black leather pants, a Coach hat and belt, blue jean cap, blue jean long coat, brown rider boots, which the receipts are still in the box, 5 chokers. I had a gold bracelet, earring set, rope necklace,
You have any of those things?
Brown band watch with
Do you
the
have
gold
any
face.
of those things?
No, ma'am. Well, I don't have them.
Neither does she.
I don't have them.
Neither does she.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I tried to be fair with her.
You weren't fair with her at all, madam.
I called her.
Hey, listen to me. You weren't fair at all.
And later today,
My daughter passed away, my 7.5-month-old daughter, Sierra.
From what?
She drowned.
Where did she drown?
In the bathtub.
Who was watching her?
My husband.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eunice Crosby says former friend Regina Edwards-Lee trashed her belongings. Regina says she didn't do it.
Miss Crosby, you know what doesn't make sense, madam?
What's that?
Let me tell you what doesn't make sense. Somebody does a very nice thing for you and your husband in a time of need. They allow you to come into their home rent-free. Rent-free. And this is not somebody who doesn't work. This is somebody who works 2 jobs. Says, come in, I'm going to help you while you get on your feet. And what you're suggesting to me is that for absolutely no reason, she steals your property.
I didn't say she stole it.
She doesn't have it.
I said she was holding it.
She doesn't have it.
I appreciate the fact that she let us in.
She doesn't have it. So if she doesn't have it and you say she has it, that means she must have stolen it.
Well, Your Honor.
So where is it?
I don't know.
Neither does she.
My brother was there. He came there January 28th after Wilbur and I had left with police assist, okay, to get our things that she gave me 45 minutes to come pick up.
Just a second. So you were there again. So you were there on, listen to me, you were there on the 13th, Miss Crosby, without her there. The first thing a woman
Because
takes...
I was living there at that time.
I'm speaking. The first thing a woman takes is her jewelry. Cash and jewelry, because that's easy. It goes right in your pocket. It doesn't require a moving van. Then you came back again the 13th in the evening. And she let you take more of your stuff. And
No,
you're telling
she
me,
didn't.
I'm speaking, and you're telling me again you didn't take your jewelry. Then you came back with a police officer. So you were there 3 different times, and 3 different times you didn't get your jewelry.
She had it on the patio. She wouldn't let us in the house.
What do you want to say, sir? You're the husband?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, on the first time we left the apartment, we got the TV and the little other stuff. We came back the same night. The back gate was locked with a padlock.
Thank you.
Okay, she had locked the back gate, wouldn't open the front door.
I don't blame her. You went inside, and you got some more
No.
stuff.
No, we didn't go
We didn't go
inside
inside.
the building.
I came up from work, and she was already at the house when I came up from work. My wife was already there when I came in from work.
Just a second. You were working?
Yes, I'm working. I was working. I just started working a day after Christmas.
How
Driving
much
dump
money
truck.
did you give her?
I gave $50 on my first check I had. When it rained, I can't work.
What do you mean you can't work?
I drive a dump truck in mud. When it rains, I cannot go to work because it's too muddy for us to drive a dump truck in the fields.
She doesn't have your things, Miss Crosby? She doesn't know where they are. Do you know where her things are?
No, ma'am, I don't. Well, Your Honor, I didn't get all my things, and I did not go to her house unless I had police assist. I have called Regina, and Regina would give me things like, I'm too busy. I said, well, Regina, when is it a good time for me to pick up my things? She goes, I don't know when there's a good time. I tried to be fair with her.
You weren't fair with her at all, madam.
I called her.
Hey, listen to me. You weren't fair at all. Here's somebody who did you a major favor. You spent a month in her home. I'm speaking. You spent a month in her home, and without so much as, according to you, because I didn't have to tell her anything, you know, I told her I wasn't staying long. You pack up your things and start to go because you didn't like a note she left you.
That's not it.
Oh, it was
That's
too,
not it.
That's too coincidental to me.
Your Honor.
I'm speaking. She left your note on the 12th. And on the 13th, without giving her any notice whatsoever, so that she can say, listen, I don't know these people really well. I want to be there when they move out. I want to make sure that they don't take anything that belongs to me.
We waited for Regina. We just didn't just go in and start packing and moving. We waited so that we could inform her that we were moving.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Well,
I mean,
you didn't give me a
start-
chance
just,
to.
Oh, no, yes, I did. Yes, I did. You told me when we started this case, Miss Crosby, that you started to pack. And I said to you, did you let her know the day before on the 12th that you were moving? You said, no, I didn't have to let her know. I told her we weren't staying long.
It's in that statement saying that we waited for her.
Before you started to pack your stuff, was she home?
No, she wasn't.
Right.
But we waited for her.
Miss Crosby, she doesn't know where your stuff is, right?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This whole thing is not fair.
I tried to be her friend, and this is what happens.
First of all, the statements that Regina made were not true.
Not only did I have her and her husband in my home, but I had her, her husband, and her dog.
She's lying, and I'm upset about that.
I never let anyone stay with me again.
I don't be friends with liars.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Copeland, Hilburn versus Hilburn. Step forward, please.
19-year-old homemaker Jenny Hilburn and her mother, Patsy Copeland, are suing Jenny's mother-in-law, paper delivery woman Barbara Hilburn, for an unpaid loan to move.
You're Miss Hilburn?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
This is your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your mother-in-law?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your husband?
He's watching the baby.
According to your complaint, your mother made a loan to your mother-in-law after a family tragedy.
Yes, ma'am.
And your mother-in-law acknowledges that you gave her $2,500 in order to assist her in moving, but says it was a gift. It's what family does. So why don't you tell me when this loan was and under what circumstances?
Well, the loan was on January 17th, 2002, and October the 20th of 2001, me and my husband and my 2 children was living at my mom's house. Well, my daughter passed away, my 7.5-month-old daughter, Sierra.
From what?
She drowned. And I couldn't go back to our house. So me and my husband stayed at a hotel room for a week just to get our heads straight. And then my husband's, Ray Hilburn, the witness, that's his father. So we decided to stay with them at their house. They had an extra room in the back of their house.
So you and your husband and your child?
They had my child in custody. Whenever my daughter drowned, they took my 2.5-year-old in custody to search what happened, see what happened, investigate the situation to make sure that it was an accidental drowning.
Where did she drown? Where did the baby drown?
In the bathtub.
Who was watching her?
My husband.
Go ahead.
Well, while we were staying there, we were fighting, trying to get our daughter back, going to the parenting classes and so on and so forth. Well, one night, on a Sunday night, in the middle of the night, a cop was beating on the door, and he told the defendant to get to the hospital that her daughter had been shot. So we all, calmly got dressed. It was like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and went down to the hospital. Well, she had been shot in her, I believe it was her left temple, and the bullet lodged in her spine, and she had just turned 16. And this was almost a month to the day that my daughter drowned, and they told us that she was brain dead and that they were going to have to take her off life support.
That's your daughter?
That's right.
Go ahead.
So they were there for us when we lost our daughter. So whenever their daughter got shot, I would like to think that we were there for them. My husband was there for his dad, and we still lived together at the time. This happened November 19th. Well, then at the end of December, we found out we were getting our daughter back. So they talked about how they wanted to move out of that house extremely bad. Barbara couldn't take living there because it reminded her so much of Katie, her daughter who had gotten shot. And me and my brothers, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, none of them wanted to go back to our house because of what happened. My mom barely could stay there, and so she decided to sell the house. When my mom sold the house, Barbara and Ray approached me and my husband and asked them to, when you go to H&R Block, you can bring your last paycheck stub and they'll tell you how much you're getting back for a income tax return. And they had a printed out form, $3,000 some odd. Well, they showed that to my mom, and they told her, if you let us borrow $2,500, then when we get his last W-2 form from a Fort Worth Independent School District, we will pay your mom back.
My mom gave them the $2,500?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you're suing for today?
Yes.
So that they could move. Did they, in fact, move?
Yes, ma'am. They moved that following week. I think she gave them the money on Thursday or Friday, and they moved that weekend.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Well, I thought it was family helping family. We let Jenny and Clayton move in with us because of the baby, dying. And as soon as we let Jenny and Clayton move in, her family, her sister, her mother, her other sister, they would come into our house all the time.
You mean to visit?
No, they came over there and stayed.
You mean slept there?
Yeah, slept there. And days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. They were actually almost living there. And, Patsy came up to us, approached us, and said that she wanted our house. She wanted to move in our house, her and her other kids, because it was big enough for all of them. Well, yeah, we wanted to get out because it reminded me of my daughter. All I've seen was Katie through the house the whole time.
Tell me about the $2,500, Miss Hilburn, because that's what we're talking about. Did you take your pay stub and show it to Miss Copeland?
I never showed. If I did show that, I do not remember because my daughter had just got murdered. She wasn't killed, she was murdered.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you get a tax refund check?
Not for no $3,000.
How much did you get?
For $2,500.
That's what she says that you owe her, $2,500. So that story makes sense to me, Miss Hilbert, that you said, I'll be getting $2,500. I need this money to move now. When I get my refund, I'll give it back to you. That makes sense. Right?
Yes.
Sure it does.
Ma'am, may I say something?
I don't think you have to say anything else. She just acknowledged that she owes you $2,500, because if it makes sense, it's usually true. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your family has gone through some very, very tough times. And what I think is, I'm awarding you the $2,500. I believe she owes that money, and I think that she knows she owes that money. Sometimes anger is a much easier emotion to deal with than pain. And it's easier to be angry with somebody than it is to actually get in touch with your own feelings. So while it's very unfortunate that you had to come to a court to resolve this issue, strike it up to sometimes people don't know how to handle their emotions and to cope with their emotions, so they cope with it out of anger. Is your daughter home with you now?
Yes, ma'am. I have a 6-month-old son, and I'm expecting in October.
You have a 6-month-old?
Yes, ma'am.
Now?
Mm-hmm.
And you're expecting in October?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a 3-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
That's enough children for a while.
My husband, we know this is it.
Knowing is one thing. Doing something is something else. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You got to do it. Good luck. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. In the matter of Berquist versus Berquist. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Berquist, the defendant is your mother.
Correct.
How old are you?
19.
According to your complaint, you needed some help in purchasing a car.
Correct.
And your mother agreed to help you with the purchase of the car. She was the co-signer?
Correct.
When was that? When did you purchase the car?
December 9th, 1999.
So you were over 18 at that point?
Correct.
And the car is in your name?
It's in me and my mom's name, yes.
Who put down the down payment?
I did.
And how much was the down payment?
I traded in my car that I had. They gave me $1,500 for it, and then I put $200 cash.
So far, is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much correct.
And then, according to what you've written here, your mother took back the car.
Correct.
And you don't have the car anymore?
No, my sister's driving it.
You took back the car and gave it to your other daughter?
She thought that she could make the payments on it, and...
You took back the car and gave it to your other daughter?
Yes.
Okay. When did you do that and why?
Tasha was late with her first payment. She quit her job that she had about 2 days after she'd got the car. And she didn't show me that she was going to be able to make the payment. She got ill. She had to go in for emergency surgery. And she left the keys on the counter in the kitchen when she went to the hospital. I took the keys and had them with me. I went to work, and I worked 10 hours. I'm gone 10 hours of the day. She came when I was at work and took all of her belongings. She lied to her grandmother because she wanted to borrow $25. There was a window broken out of the car already. When I found this out when I got home and she'd moved out, I decided to hide the car over at my brother's. Tyann then said that she thought that, my other daughter, she thought that she could make the payments, and together we made the first one. It was about a month overdue before we could make the first payment.
After a month, you took the car and you gave it to your other daughter. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you have the car now?
Yes, I do.
Are you making the payments on the car?
I'm behind right now.
Well, how much behind are you?
A month.
And what about the insurance?
I don't have any.
I asked Tyann to, at the very least, put a for sale sign in the window if she's not going to bring it back to me, so that we could try to sell it, you know, because if I...
You're absolutely right. But you can't take her car away without giving her back her down payment. Do you understand? If you took the car after a month, she's out her $1,700.
It didn't go exactly like that.
Okay.
Tasha, I tried to communicate with her if she was going to be able to make the payment on ours. She'd started a new job, and then she'd gotten sick. And I didn't know if she'd made any money. She was working at the car lot that she actually bought the car from. she did not communicate that with me at all. That weekend, she showed up at her work with her paycheck, flaunting it. She never came to me and said, Mom, I've got the money, or anything. I was just protecting my interests.
Where is the car now? You have it.
She's got it. Won't
Are
give it
you
back.
living with your sister?
Yeah. I know.
Just a second. Oh, this is very easy. You have a job now?
Not right now, no.
Well, how could you make the payments if you don't have a job?
The reason I don't have a job is because I'm going to Colorado at the end of this month, and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so I can't really start a new job and then just leave. So I was going to get a job once I came back.
Well, who's supposed to make the car payments?
My sister, she's been making them, and...
How many car payments did you make altogether?
2 of them.
You made 2, and you've had the car since when?
The end of February.
And I made the rest.
I'm going to resolve this case very easily. She doesn't have a job, so she can't make the car payments, right?
Right, well, I can get the money. That's not a problem to do it.
Where are you going to get the money from?
As
From
my
her?
boyfriend? No, my boyfriend.
What?
I was willing to make the car payment for her.
As a matter of fact,
and she made the car payment on my other car.
So that I could use, so I had a car to drive. I was making it
You're
on
the
his.
boyfriend?
Yes.
Right.
You're the boyfriend. Fine. So you have good credit?
It got bad in October. That's a whole nother issue.
Okay. I'm going to resolve this for your mother, because your mother did a very, very foolish thing.
Yes.
Well,
Because she co-signed for you. The car is titled in your name. The car is titled in her name. The loan, they would come after her, clearly, in the event that the car, right?
no, I actually talked to them, asked them if I could get off the loan and everything, and I said, now as far as coming after the payment, they said they're going to come after me first.
Yeah, but you don't have any money, so then they're going to come after your mother.
Everything is in my name only. I mean, she is on it, but
I have
everything.
papers that show that I
Doesn't
signed
make any
everything.
difference. Let's say that you co-signed for the loan, so they come after you and they say, give us our money, and you say, I don't have any.
No, I could get the money. That's not a problem. I'm getting a job at the end of the month. I had all the money to pay for this
Fine,
car.
so this is your boyfriend, you're driving his car.
Right.
Right?
And I've been paying on that car.
But you didn't make the first payment.
Right, because I didn't have a chance to. I got real sick.
Here, I understand that. The bank doesn't care whether you
Oh,
have
I
a
know.
chance to.
I know.
Ms. Berquist, the bank doesn't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't have a car, you don't have a car, and you don't have a loan, because you don't have money, and you don't have a job, and you got the loan. Do you understand?
And later today,
You paid the bills in November?
Yes.
In October?
Yes.
In December? Yes. So you decided to stick it to him for January.
That would sum it up very well, Judge.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tasha Berquist says her mother, Melody Berquist, illegally repossessed her car.
Miss Berquist, this is what we're going to do. You're going to give the car back to your mother. Today, you are going to sell the car.
Thank you.
If you don't get enough from the sale of the car to cover the loan, okay, you can come back.
Okay.
That way, you don't have a car, you don't have a car, and you don't have a loan, because you don't have money, and you don't have a job, and you got the loan. Do you understand? So the car is to be turned over to your mother today. You got it?
I got it.
You understand? You sell it.
I will. That was my plan.
Perfect. That's all. Thank
Please
you.
excuse, you may step out.
Where do I go? This way. I'm not pleased, of course. I didn't even get to get all my stuff.
I feel bad. I love my kids, you know, that's why I did it.
And now the next case.
All parties on Graham versus Graham. Step forward, please.
47-year-old contractor Brian Graham is suing his ex-wife, 47-year-old registered nurse Cheryl Graham, for unpaid bills and the deposit on a car. Cheryl is countersuing for pain and suffering and harassment.
Mr. Graham, you and the defendant were married for 12 years, according to your complaint. Are you currently divorced, or are you still married, legally
We
married?
are divorced.
Okay, and what year was your divorce?
It was final about 2 months ago.
When did you separate?
September/October 1999.
And you got an order for spousal support, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say, Mr. Graham, that you had an arrangement with your now former wife that she would be responsible for certain bills. And when she did not pay those bills, you deducted that, because you paid the bills, from the spousal support.
That is correct.
And then you went back to court, and the judge told you that since it was an order for spousal support, you could not deduct the amounts that you claimed because judges don't like it when anybody else fools around with their orders.
That would sum it up very well, Judge.
Right. So the judge told you that if you felt you had a claim against her, you could sue her in civil court.
That is correct.
Therefore, you're here. Now, you see what I managed to glean out of these 5 pages of papers that you wrote?
You're so good.
The only thing that was not clear to me, Mr. Graham, is what specific items you are claiming you had an agreement over with your former wife. So first, let me ask a couple of basic questions. What was the order for spousal support?
The order that I was to pay after paying for the car would be a cash payment of $330.20 per month, plus an amount for making up on a cash out for the house.
And that was on or about September of 1999.
The order began as of March 1st of this year, 2000.
So there was no order prior to March 1st?
That is correct.
Is that right?
According to the settlement, it was February 12th when I moved out is when he was to start paying support.
Can I see that, please? Did you both have attorneys?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Don't know the magic words of keeping it simple. Husband shall pay to the wife, asking for spousal support, $625 a month, commencing on the day that the wife moves out of the residence. She's supposed to vacate the residence March 1st, 2000. Did you move out of the residence on March 1st, 2000?
I moved out on February 12th.
Okay. Did you make payments of spousal support, sir?
No, I did not.
Why?
We had a Dodge that was coming up to the end of its lease in December. I knew that a car would be needed for transporting the children and
these were
Cheryl.
your children?
Yes, correct.
These were your children that he raised over the 12 years with you?
Yes.
Yeah. So I agreed that when that lease was up, I would purchase the car. And I said, but I don't have the down payment. That's when she agreed to pay $800 toward the down payment of that car and the auto insurance. Those would be deducted from the spousal support.
Okay, so you made a car payment of $800 and the auto insurance payment of how much?
$227.66 for that period of time, Your Honor. This is the written agreement that Cheryl gave me prior to that time, saying that she would pay $800 plus the auto insurance out of the spousal support or settlement order. We have more. The next item is the utility bills. Now, I moved out of the house in October of 1999, leaving Cheryl and the children staying in the house. Through the time we actually signed our final agreement, our final settlement agreement, Cheryl did pay all the bills. It seems, though, that on the day we signed that agreement, all payments of those bills stopped, and that was early in January. And then when she moved out, I moved back in, and I started getting bills that had not been paid, bills that were delinquent. They included the telephone bill, the gas and electric, water and sewer. The cable bill had not been paid. So that makes up a total of $778.26.
Did you pay those bills?
No. And
Tell me why.
He did not move out of the house. And my daughter and neighbor know that he was there daily. He was there every morning to take my son to school. He came and worked in the house. He works for himself. A lot of the tools are in the garage. He was there daily working on projects for jobs. He used the shower. He used the house. All he did was go spend the night with someone else.
He was sleeping elsewhere.
Right.
And you did, in fact, Miss Graham, pay the bills prior to January.
Yes.
You paid the bills in November?
Yes.
In October?
Yes.
In December?
Yes.
Was he showering, picking your son up from school, using his tools in October?
Yes.
In November?
Yes.
In December?
Yes.
So you decided to stick it to him for January.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was a wonderful father for 12 years. Someone does not just become an ogre, but he has gone from, we'll make this a civil divorce, to I'm out for blood.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian Graham says his ex-wife Cheryl Graham owes him for unpaid bills and a car deposit.
Okay. Let's hear you.
In August, before he told me that he wanted a divorce, we had discussed how we were going to handle bills and saving money for future and that type of thing. And I had agreed then to pay the bills. And I continued paying it until it occurred to me that we didn't have a future, and my contributing towards his future didn't make any sense.
No, but you and your children were living in the house.
So was he.
No, he wasn't living there. He was doing the same thing that he was doing in September, October, November, and December. The fact that you decided to change the rules, because that's what you said. You had agreed with him that you would pay the utility bills while you were there.
That was before he asked for a divorce.
You had said to him, I'll pay the utility bills while I'm here.
No, I don't believe that's what I said.
But that's what you did.
Can I make a comment here?
Sure.
I got the order for him to pay me all the arrears, and he was to pay me that on May 16th. He did not do that. 3 days later, he went and he filed this suit for just about the same amount. Several days after that, he canceled my car insurance. And when we did the settlement agreement, I didn't go after half of the business that I could have, because I was trying to keep it as a semi-civil thing, since there were kids involved and we'd known each other for 30 years.
Ms. Gray, you clearly had an arrangement with him that you were going to take over and pay for the utility bills while you were there, and you just decided in January, because you were going to be moving out in February, the hell with him, let him deal with that when he moves back in, which is really what you said to yourself. So you understand now that you cannot resort to self-help in modifying a judicial order. I'm sure that the judge made that abundantly clear to you.
There is no doubt in my mind, Your Honor, that was inappropriate behavior.
Okay, so you can't do that. I gather, Mrs. Graham, that since you said you've known each other for 30 years, you did have a marriage in between because you have 2 children. It appears to me, at least, that Mr. Graham has been a reasonable and concerned step-parent to your children.
He was until August, yes.
Do your children have a relationship with their father?
He died.
He died.
Before Brian and I got married.
So that what the children know is this person as their parental figure.
Right. And that's not how he is behaving.
Well, there are always bad feelings when there is a divorce. I'm sure that there are hurt feelings on both sides. You know, it doesn't sound like a total cad to me. I mean, he did in fact say to you, you keep the car because you're going to need the car to get the kids. You just said to me that he would come back to the house to drive your son to school.
He was maintaining an illusion that he was living at the house. He had to come back to get his clothes. He had no clothes there.
That doesn't require him taking your son to school.
Like you said, he'd treated him as a son for 12 years.
Well, that's a nice thing. That's a good thing. That says to me that he's not an ogre. You're her daughter?
Yes.
It's just very unfortunate that when a marriage breaks up, there are such bad feelings. You know, I mean, if he was a good person for 12 years, he doesn't all of a sudden become a monster. Just remember this. There are always 2 sides to a story.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
I have requested from my mother that I be shown any documents in the way of letters or court papers that she has in which Brian has sent to her. And you said, yes, he was a wonderful father for 12 years. Someone does not just become an ogre. But it has appeared to me that he has gone from, we'll make this a civil divorce, to I'm out for blood.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay. The first thing is loving parents do not share with their children the particulars of a settlement agreement, and I don't care whether you're 14 or 12 or 6. It's an inappropriate thing to share with a child details of financial arrangements. And right now you no longer even enjoy the legal relationship of stepfather, step-parent with Mr. Graham. That's unfortunate. What about your brother?
My brother at the moment is living with Brian at the house.
So your brother is living with the plaintiff?
Right.
How old is Brian?
My brother is William.
How old is William?
18.
What is William doing?
In fact, he's graduating high school tomorrow, I hope.
He is.
Okay. And you see your son regularly?
Yes.
But you don't visit?
No, I don't visit with Brian by my own choice.
Okay, well, that's your choice. That's unfortunate. In any event, I am entering a judgment for $2,171 in favor of the plaintiff.
Can I get you to order him to follow the settlement agreement where he was going to be keeping the car on the insurance and taking the insurance payments out of the spousal support?
I don't understand, Mrs. Graham, why you wouldn't want to have total control over your own money. Now, if what you're saying is that instead of giving you the money, he should deduct it and pay it himself, that seems to me to be foolhardy. Put a period and end it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do.
Good. That's all.
Won't go
Thank
for
you, Your
it.
Honor. Versus Ayala. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You two folks had a 9-year relationship, according to what I've read, and you have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are the children?
4 and 8 now.
How come you never got married?
There was some trust issues, ma'am, that I couldn't oversee.
What do you mean trust is? You have a trust fund?
No, basically infidelity.
There was no trust.
Sounds
So what do
weird.
you have 2 children together for?
It sounds weird, Your Honor, but our first child was unplanned. It was an unplanned
Yeah, but then you have another one.
And then we had another.
The only reason I'm asking you this, Mr. Alvarado, is really not to get into your history, but to suggest to you that it's very difficult for a court when 2 people decide to live together. You know, we have courts for people who want to divorce because they're married. We have certain laws that are involved. You have, depending upon where you live, equitable distribution, community property. We have all kinds of laws. But if you live together for 9 years and you have a family and you don't have a marriage on paper, it's very difficult. No court's going to go back and trace who bought the skidoo. What is it? Oh. What do you say he has of yours?
Sea-Doo, Your Honor.
Sea-Doo.
Yes, ma'am.
Back in 1990. Nobody's going to look at that. Certainly not me. All right, so let's take care of this case very fast. What personal items do you say that she has of yours?
Well, she has several, Your Honor, but I'm only contesting 2. It's a personal computer that I had custom built by a friend.
Okay. When?
December of last year, Your Honor.
Okay. 1 computer and 1?
And a Nissan Pathfinder that the defendant and me purchased together.
So you purchased it together?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you say you purchased it together, then why would you sue for it?
Well, because I'm still paying for it on my credit card, and I just don't believe it's fair for her to drive something that I'm still paying for.
Okay, let's deal with the computer first.
Okay.
Do you have his computer?
No.
Where is it?
He picked it up with all his belongings when he came to the house in January when he picked up all his belongings.
No, I don't believe that. Why would he sue for it if he picked it up?
Because he knows that I wanted it, and he took 2 computers with him on that date.
No, Miss Ayala, listen to me very carefully.
You know,
Just a second. Sorry. You saw him take the computer?
No, I was there the day that he picked up his belongings. Yes,
Did you see
it
him
was
take
in his belongings.
Well, step up here, and I'll see you. Tell me your last name.
My name is Wendy Miller.
Miss Miller, you were present when he moved out?
Yes, I was.
When he came back with the truck and got all of his stuff?
Yes, I was.
Did you actually see him take his computer?
It was in a green tote, in one of those plastic totes. And I recall saying, Randy, why aren't you keeping this? I thought you were having one and he was having one. And she said no. We decided he was having it all. Taking both. Taking both. Because she didn't want anything to fight over. Because I've been in a physically violent relationship for the last 9 years, and I know what he's capable of. So I just wanted to make it as easy as possible and give him what he was requesting, and done deal.
She says she saw you carry out the computer in a green bag, sir.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. I wouldn't be here, Your Honor, if... I'm not that type of person. I mean, that would be totally petty for me to do. The computer was custom built for me. I'm a plumbing designer, so it's basically my trade. I don't have it.
She says she doesn't have it.
Well,
Is what you're telling me is that you don't have it?
That's correct.
Did you sell it?
No.
Yes.
Just a minute. Didn't sell it. You say that he took it.
Yes, he packed it up himself and took it.
I don't know who has the computer. I thought if it was easy, I might deal with it. It's not. All right, let's talk about the car. You 2 people had a marriage together. As far as I'm concerned, for 9 years. It wasn't a marriage on paper. I don't intend to spend too much time with this. Let's talk about the car. Let me see what you're paying off, sir.
Okay.
On the car.
Well, basically, I have paperwork also showing that I took a student loan for the computer.
I'm not interested in the computer. I don't know where it is.
Then I have paperwork from my credit card showing the orange highlighted area showing the balance transfer from Wells Fargo to my credit card for the balance of the
Wells Fargo
truck.
had nothing to do with it.
When did you purchase this car?
November '94.
November of '94. We're in 2000 now. You had a car at that time. Is that right, according to your answer?
Yes, I
You had a
traded in
300ZX.
I had a fully paid off 300ZX, and I traded it in
for the Pathfinder.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. We had a stanza right before.
In between, I'm sorry. I traded in for a stanza. We had the stanza for 9 months, then we traded in the stanza for the Pathfinder.
That we've both been paying on.
That you've both been paying on?
Correct, Your Honor.
And how much is left on it?
I believe $3,000, Your Honor.
You have any reason to believe that it's all paid off? You say, in your answer, you say it was all paid off.
It is paid off.
It is paid off?
Yes.
Due to the fact that we put the balance on my credit card, Your Honor. That's why it's paid off.
Did you pay off the car by taking money out of his bank?
He made a student loan because he was not employed at the time, and that student loan was money for us to live off of.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. That's totally incorrect.
Were you employed at the time?
I was a full-time student, Your Honor, and I was receiving...
Employed was the word.
I was receiving unemployment for retraining for my profession, which is plumbing designing. And at the time, I was receiving an income through the state for unemployment retraining.
All right. When you purchased this 1994 car, 92 car in
Yes,
94, did you use it as a family for the last 6 years?
Basically on the weekends, but during the week she would use it.
And how long was the note on the car?
It was a 3-year note, I believe,
Give
Your
it
Honor.
back to him. 3-year note. What, 1994? That brings you up to 1997.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I never even knew she had pictures of other men in intimate positions.
I'm not interested in that, sir.
I never looked at that stuff. And she had that in my boy's bedroom. I mean, she had pictures of her and other men in our son's bedroom.
There we go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ramon Alvarado claims former live-in lover of 9 years and mother of his 2 children, Randy Shannon Ayala, owes him for some personal items. Randy says he owes her for a wave runner and sea-doo.
All right, let's get to your counterclaim. What do we have here? A 1990 Yamaha Wave Runner, a 1990 Zima trailer, and a 1990 Sea-Doo. Let's start with those things.
They're in both our names, all 3 items.
Yeah.
And I've heard from a friend that he's trying to sell them now for $5,000.
Yeah.
And he's never discussed it with me. I don't know if I'm getting half of this. I don't know what he's...
I don't know either. He didn't sell them yet. Didn't
put
sell
a for
them yet.
sale sign. I mean, my name's on it too, and
So he can't sell them without your name unless he forges your name.
That's correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when he goes to sell those things, unless he forges your name, which I assume he doesn't want to do because he wouldn't want to go through retraining again, then what's going to happen is he's going to have to say, I want to sell this, would you sign off on it? And you'll say, how much are you selling it for? I want half.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Your Honor, if I may.
What?
My father let me borrow the money for the trailer, for the trailer and one of the jet skis. I still own the money. I told the defendant that she's more than welcome to have them if she were to pay my dad. I just don't think it's fair for her to get something that my dad lent me the money to borrow. And the
Mr.
wave runner,
Alvarado, when you enter into a relationship that is what I consider a permanent relationship, when you have one for 9 years and you make 2 children together,
right.
You don't come in with a shopping bag full of problems to courts and say, you figure it out. Right now you got a problem, and your problem is that her name is on the title to these things. If she doesn't want to sign off on it, then you
Right.
can't sell it.
Right.
Then you may keep them as museum items and give them to your grandchildren.
Right.
Understand?
Right. My name's on the Pathfinder also, Your Honor.
Oh, just a second. Your name's on the Pathfinder. As far as I'm concerned, you bought this car 6 years ago. The car was paid off in 1997. If you took out money, and then she bought a Sentra, and then she bought this, I'm just explaining something to you, sir. We're not going back to the year of the flood
Right.
to retrace, because courts are busy.
Right.
To retrace these things, it's just not going to happen.
No, I wasn't asking you to
Fine.
do it, Your Honor.
Good. Now, all right, so we've taken care of your counterclaim with regard to the Wave Runner, the trailer, and the Sea-Doo. Now, say you want $650 that was mistakenly deposited into his IRA account instead of mine.
Yes.
What is that?
Back in April of '99, we both signed up for IRA accounts with our financial advisor to do automatic debits from our checking account. His checks got assigned to my application for the IRA, and my checks got assigned to his application. And so his automatic debits were coming out of my checking account, and mine were going out of his checking account. Once I was aware of the fact...
Just 1 second, madam. He each signed up for $50. Is that what you're telling me?
Every month.
Every month. Well, if he paid his 50 and you paid your 50, that means that
it would be equal. Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
But he closed his accounts. He closed his checking account 2 months into the automatic withdrawals.
Fine, then you have to get in touch with the bank.
No, he needs to sign to transfer over the IRAs in his IRAs in my name and mine in his name.
Is what you're telling me the bank made a mistake?
No, the financial advisor guy made the mistake.
Sue him. Sue him.
All he needs to do is to sign his name saying that he's aware of the mistake.
Then he should do it.
He won't do it.
This is the first I've ever heard of this, Your Honor. I don't have. If it's her money, she can have it. I don't need it.
Fine. Then you will go with her to the financial
Sure,
advisor, and if it's her money, fine. Otherwise,
I don't have a problem.
sue your financial advisor. All right. Now, Raymond also took $1,700 worth of savings bonds, $1,200 worth that belonged to me, and $500 that belonged to my son.
Dude, you're outrageous.
Okay. $1,700 were your savings bonds? Were they in your name?
Yes, my name / my son, Callie Alvarado.
Your Honor, I would never do that.
Before he moved out, he went through the whole house, ransacked the house, going
Your
through
Honor,
anything and
I left my
everything.
stuff there, Your Honor.
Just a
Because
second. Shh.
we were currently going through child custody stuff through the court, and he wanted to find anything and everything
That's not right.
to go against me, to make me look bad. And he found my savings bonds because I've always had them hidden, and now they're not there.
So you don't know where they are?
That's not right.
They're no longer in their place.
I would never
Listen
do
to
that.
me.
I would never do
So
that.
why? I know you. I would never do anything like that. I don't know whether you would or you wouldn't. She has no proof that you took them, but all she has to do is she has to report them to the U.S. Treasury that they were lost or stolen. Because if they're in your name / for one of your children, he can do nothing with them if he in fact took them. And all you have to do is report them stolen, and you will get replacements.
Oh, okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
A gecko, that's like a big lizard.
It's actually a very small lizard. They range about 1 to 1.5 feet.
To me, that's a big lizard. Little ones, the ones that you see, little salamanders, you know, that you see, they're real cute, 1 and a half.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ramon Alvarado is suing the mother of his 2 children, Randy Shannon Ayala, for some personal items.
Yes.
Your Honor, in our 9 years, Your Honor, I deposited my check directly to our joint account, which I never had a separate checking account. I never dealt with the money. I never dealt with the bonds. I never even knew she had pictures of other men in intimate positions.
I'm not interested in that, sir.
Because I never looked at that stuff. I never looked at that stuff. And she had that in my boy's bedroom. I mean, she had pictures of her and other men in our son's bedroom.
There we go.
Letters and stuff.
Your case, Mr. Alvarado, is dismissed. I've explained why to you with regard to what you are property that you are suing her for. And Miss Ayala, I've just explained to you why he cannot sell the Sea-Doo, etc., without your permission. And if you want the bonds, write a letter to the U.S. Treasury. That's all. Both cases and the counterclaim is dismissed. That's
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Whatever the judge said was fine with me.
He's nothing but a joke. I mean, obviously, he displayed his irrational behavior at the end, and he's a joke.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hageman versus Hoffman. Step forward, please.
19-year-old casino cashier Lisa Hageman claims former live-in boyfriend, 26-year-old photo lab technician Justin Hoffman, owes her for internet charges. Justin says she kept his pet gecko.
Ms. Hageman, according to your complaint, you and the defendant enjoyed an on-again, off-again relationship, and at some point he moved into your house. Is that right?
Yes.
There was an arrangement for rent, etc. You say he didn't pay all the time, but your lawsuit involves an expense that you claim he owes you.
Yes.
And that is for a hookup for his computer.
DSL service.
What is DSL service? I'm completely illiterate when it comes to computers.
Personally, I'm not all that sure. I know it was to fix the problem we were having with the tie-up of the phone line.
Explain that to me.
Okay, it's a high-speed connection. It doesn't tie up your phone line. Makes your computer run faster and connect to the internet faster. That's basically it.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how much was it?
Altogether about $238.
Do you use the computer?
No, I didn't.
Were these your charges, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have that settled. She paid for that, and you were supposed to pay her back for that?
Yes, ma'am.
So now I'll hear your defense.
Well, I see no discrepancies in her statement. However, what she's neglected to mention is the fact that I had paid her $250 in rent during the week of March the 27th.
And what month's rent was that for?
That was for the month of April.
Yes.
I was kicked out of the apartment during approximately the April the 9th.
Okay. Did he, in fact, give you $250 on or about March 27th?
Yes, he did.
And was that for April's rent?
Yes.
Okay. And did you, in fact, eject him from the apartment?
Yes, I did.
Was that on April the 9th?
Around there, yes.
Okay. Did you fund any part of his $250?
No, I didn't.
Why?
Because he had lived there for so long without paying rent.
Well, you allowed him to.
Yes.
That's your choice, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you get some credit for that.
Yes, ma'am.
How much notice did she give you before you left?
Less than a week, ma'am.
Okay, you had a falling out or whatever?
No, I asked him just to make sure it was as soon as possible. I told him he could have basically as much time as he wanted.
Did she give you as much time as you wanted?
Negative.
Negative. What did she say?
She told me she wanted me out by the end of the week.
And you were?
Yes.
Did you ask her for any part of your rent back?
No.
Now you say there's another reason why you don't owe her this money.
Yes, it's on the basis of an exotic pet gecko that was my own expenses in purchasing that pet. And
a gecko, that's like a big lizard.
It's actually a very small lizard. They range about 1 foot to 1.5 feet in length.
To me, that's a big lizard.
Yes, ma'am.
Little ones, the ones that you see, little salamanders, that you see, they're real cute. 1 foot and a half. That's a big lizard.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sounds to me if it's almost a wash. Maybe he owes you a couple of dollars, but that's it. I mean, he lived there for 9 days into the month. That's a third of the month. Giving you some credit for the time that you didn't live in the apartment, but for which you paid rent. Now let's go to this tank. How much was the tank for the gecko?
That was approximately $75.
That was untrue. We called around and got estimates on the aquarium. The estimate we took was $60 for the aquarium and then another $15 for a heat rock, which the gecko needed because they need large amounts of heat. And I gave him the $60 of it.
So he put in 15, right?
Yep.
Now how much was the gecko?
50.
Is that right?
No, when he told me that he wanted to get the gecko, I asked him how much. He said $40. So I gave him $40.
Was this a present?
No.
Explain how that came about.
He originally was going to get a chinchilla, and when he mentioned that he could also get a gecko, I said that I wanted the gecko.
Do you like dogs and cats?
I also have a cat.
All right, well, he gets some credit for the rent that he paid you, that he did not enjoy because he did not live there because you asked him to leave for 2/3 of the month, and he gets a $15 credit for the difference that he paid for this aquarium that you decided you wanted to keep, which means that he owes you $150. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat. Folks.
Mrs. Macias, how long have you been divorced?
Since August of 1985.
And you have how many children together?
1.
That's this young lady, I assume, right here.
Yes.
Tell me your first name.
Chantel.
How old are you?
17.
Chantel, do you think you've been an easy teenager?
I've had my ups and downs, but I really wasn't a bad teenager, no.
But ups and downs?
Yeah, ups and downs, of course.
This lawsuit is about a time that you were living with your father.
Yes.
You had lived with your father once before when you were younger, and then you lived with your mother, and then you ran away, and you lived with somebody else, and then ultimately you ended up with your father for a while.
Yes.
And that didn't work out.
No, Your Honor.
And you left.
Yes, I did. He was never there because he had to
And
work
you
all
left.
the time. I'm serious.
Your father says that when you left him a $400 long-distance phone bill, and he sold the bedroom furniture to pay for the phone bill, right?
That's correct.
So I have a couple of questions. Who bought the bedroom furniture?
I did, Your Honor.
When?
It was September 3rd of close to 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
I drove up to Seattle and helped my ex move some things out of storage that she had in storage, and some of the items that were in there was a bedroom suite that did belong to my daughter, and I
That was purchased by your former wife?
Correct. And I brought it back to Portland and to my house, and I set her up in a bedroom there.
Great. And how long did your daughter live with you?
She moved in last May, and she stayed with me until the 29th of February of this year, Your Honor.
What happened in February?
Well, it was kind of a long road from May to February. I tried to...
Okay, let's keep it a very short road.
Okay.
The short road is things weren't working out?
Yeah, there were some frustrations, difficulties, discipline problems.
Okay. Did you ask her to leave, or did she leave on her own?
She left on her own, Your Honor.
Tell me about it.
I came home Tuesday from work, and there was a car parked in my driveway, Idaho license plates on it. I had no idea who owned the car. All I know that it was from Idaho. When I came into the house, I just went to see where my daughter was, and she was sound asleep on her bed downstairs, and there was this other person wandering through my house at that time.
The other person was of the male or female persuasion?
That was a female, Your Honor. I don't know her approximate age, but I imagine 17, 18, 19, something like that.
Okay.
At that time, that kind of really agitated me because we'd been going through this. I'd asked my daughter repeatedly not to bring people over unless I had a chance to meet them, and if I approved them of them, then it was fine, but she just disregarded that and just did as she pleased. I went upstairs and I found that there was some liquor taken out of my cupboard upstairs, and I confronted my daughter with it, and at that time she said to me, "It's not my problem, it's no big deal. It's my problem." And at that point, I just got kind of really frustrated, and I told her, I said, "Chantel, I think what we need to do here is I'm going to come home tomorrow. I'm going to put you on the bus, send you back up to your mom for a couple of days. I want to kind of sort things out here as what we can do because things aren't going very good here right now." At that point, when I told her what I was going to do, she just blew up and started ranting and raving and cursing at me. And she left with a friend, or that person that was there. And
okay, so you told her that you were going to send her back to her mom's for a while, but she just left with the friend
that's correct,
in the car from Idaho.
Yes.
Where did you go when you left with your friend from Idaho?
I had went to my boyfriend's house, and I stayed the night.
Boyfriend?
Yeah, my boyfriend, Sean Kelly. And
how long did you stay at his house?
2 nights.
Did anybody know where you were? Did you call your mom?
Yeah, I tried to call her. I did call her.
Try. No.
Actually, I did call her, but I
Did you
didn't
speak
get to
to
talk
her?
to her. No.
So nobody knew where you were? Your mother or your father didn't know where you were at the time?
No.
Okay. So after 2 nights at your boyfriend's house, where did you go?
I went to my mother's house.
Who drove you there?
Bristol.
The girl that you were with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And when for the first time did you ask your dad for your furniture back?
Right after I moved out. And he told me that I owed him a phone bill, and I told him, yes, I'm sorry. I currently didn't have a job at the time, and I was in the position of getting one. But I told him I would be more than happy to make one. And
make a what?
A payment plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that he said he wanted everything in full right now, or, you know, I'm selling the furniture. He called me and said that he had a buyer for the furniture, and that if I didn't have it by Friday, that it was gone. And me and my mother, we drove down there the following weekend and to go get the furniture, and we popped in as a surprise, and he said that he had sold it. So
popped in as a surprise?
Yeah, like, so we didn't let him know we were coming, so he couldn't, like, we caught him off guard, you know. And so he said that he had sold the furniture.
Mr. Gertman, let me tell you what your problems are, sir. Teenagers very often have very expensive phone bills. It's nice if teenagers pay them, but you can't set off her phone bill against furniture that you neither bought nor paid for. Her mother bought the furniture. Now, if you said to me, I sold the furniture was there in my house for my daughter to use when she was living with me, she's no longer living with me, I sold it, I would say you're absolutely right. But you got the furniture from her mother. You can't sell that furniture. And you can't sue your daughter for a phone bill because she's a minor. I owe a lot of teenagers. $400 for a phone bill is a lot of money. Sometimes I would have had a big smiley on my face if the phone bill was only $400. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me that the two of you should be working together, even though you're not married anymore, because your daughter seems to be running the show. You understand? You couldn't have thought that your former husband was such a bad guy if you said you try to take care of her for a while because she's beyond me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's what happens with teenagers, especially teenagers who are the children of divorce. Sometimes they like their mothers, sometimes they like their fathers, but they will always use one against the other.
And later today,
I put shaving cream on the side of her garage.
Why?
I was retaliating.
So far, you're honest. I give you that. Dumb, but honest.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
17-year-old Chantal Gurton says her father, Richard Gurton, won't return her bedroom furniture.
So first you were a villain, then he was a villain. Now you're okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what happens with teenagers, especially teenagers who are the children of divorce. Sometimes they like their mothers, sometimes they like their fathers, but they will always use one against the other. If you allow that to happen, you're being a fool. But you're entitled to the money for your furniture back because you paid for it. Let me see the bills for the furniture. Chantel, are you going to school?
Yeah,
that suggests to me that that's not a quick yes.
I'll be starting in next month.
All right, so you see, the answer is no, you are not going to school. Are you working?
No.
So you're 17 and a half years old, you're neither working or going to school. Where's the boyfriend? How close does he live to you?
He lives with his friend next to me in Everett.
You live with a friend?
Yeah.
Not yet. Yes.
Yes.
Button up your shirt. Nice. If you come to court, don't show me your undershirt. Do you work?
Yes, I work.
For whom?
A roofing company.
Hmm?
A roofing company.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Well, how much did you pay? $23.93?
Yes, Your Honor.
$23.93. And what is this for? Is this the same agreement?
There's one for the stereo mount, balance owing.
And
the
what's
other
the
for
balance
bedroom.
owing on the stereo?
$1,300 plus tax.
What'd you do with the stereo?
I sold it, Your Honor.
It's $36.93. That's what it comes to. Bedroom set and the stereo. How much did you sell it for?
$450.
It's going to cost you $36.93 to replace it. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's done numerous things in the past where she hasn't been accountable, and my only intent was trying to make her become accountable for some of the things she did.
I really did want to get to know my father and become close with him, but that didn't happen. And I'm hoping someday maybe there could be a chance.
Hey, sweetie.
And now the next case.
All parties on Radford versus Talbot. Step forward, please.
41-year-old Valerie Radford is suing her neighbors, Dwayne Talbot, his wife Terry, and their daughter, 16-year-old Ashley. Valerie says Ashley vandalized her garage with shaving cream.
Are you the daughter?
Yes.
You're the daughter who did the damage?
Yes.
Are you their neighbor?
Yes.
Father?
Yes.
Mother?
Yes.
Who are you?
Insurance broker.
Sit down, please. Shh. What kind of damage did you do to the plaintiff's house?
I put shaving cream on the side of her garage.
Why?
I was retaliating because her son threatened my brother.
What did the side of her garage have to do with that?
Well, I just got it with shaving cream.
Now, what did putting shaving cream on the side of her house, is the garage attached to the house?
Yes.
What did that have to do with this childhood squabble?
Well, I wasn't going to use eggs because eggs damage too much, and so I was just like...
What were you going to do anything for?
Because I was retaliating from what her son said to my brother.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
It'll be a year in June.
Did she catch you doing it?
Yes.
Did you do it during the day or at night?
Night.
Did you expect to be caught?
No.
So far, you're honest. I give you that. Dumb, but honest.
Yes.
And your lawsuit is to be compensated for the damage that was done.
Yes.
To the side of your house.
Yes.
Do you have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. And it's not just the garage, it's the stucco. And that's the problem. It can't be removed from the stucco.
Thank you. Is this that line?
Yes.
That's there? Did you try washing it off?
Yes.
When were these pictures taken?
About a week after.
Have you seen these pictures? Would you show them, please, to the defendants? So did you get estimates to paint
Yes, I did. I have 3.
Can I see them, please?
The problem, my house is 10 years old. We moved in the neighborhood about the same year, and the paint can't be rematched. I mean, they brought books to try to match it. That's why they said the house has to be repainted. Because it's 10 years old, I mean, you know, the cracks and the normal wear and tear will have to absorb that, but it's just that we wouldn't be having to paint our house right now if this didn't happen.
Okay. Who do you want me to hear from?
The night that it happened, Valerie's husband came down to the house, told me what had happened. Ashley and I walked down, went immediately to talk to Valerie, and Valerie told us in no uncertain terms that she wanted us to do nothing, that it had already been taken care of. She then said that we should turn it over to our homeowner's insurance because her homeowner's insurance had said that ours should pay for it, which is exactly what I did. Now, the whole time, I have admitted there's been I never challenged the fact of Ashley doing it. This is the size can of shaving cream. This is exactly. We turned it into our insurance agent. The insurance agent, which I have here, Ted, the adjuster went out. There was no damage.
Well, there is damage.
Well,
there is damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She and her children have flipped us off. She has used her profanity.
That's ridiculous. I mean, her daughter was 100% wrong. It's also 100% juvenile.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valerie Radford says neighbor 16-year-old Ashley Talbot vandalized her garage with shaving cream.
You're the agent.
And I wasn't aware that anybody came to my home.
They didn't have to go into your home to look at it, so he may have gone out. What is your last name, sir?
Talbot.
Well, their last name is Talbot. Are you related to them?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you related?
This is my brother Dwayne.
They do all of their insurance through your company?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you go out to look at the property?
Property was looked at after the claim was turned in August. It was observed. The case was negotiated with the adjuster, with the other party, and per the records that I've got, it was closed on October 6th.
What do you mean it was? I don't understand that. You mean the two adjusters got together from the two insurance companies? Who got together?
The insurance company got together with, I was informed, spoke with the defendant.
With the plaintiff?
Plaintiff, sorry. The case has been closed as of October 6th.
Well, but did you ever get a check from the insurance company?
I was never notified. No one ever spoke with me about it. The only thing I've gotten is being called names when I drive through the neighborhood. And
well, that's ridiculous. You have no proof that your company ever paid out a claim?
No.
Well, then it wasn't settled, because if the adjuster went out and spoke to them and your company closed the file, then it closed the file erroneously because she was never compensated, according to you.
That is correct.
So what are you doing here? Do you have anything to add to this case?
Nothing further.
Perfect. Sit down.
When Valerie talks about calling names, first of all, we very, very, very seldom drive by her home. That's number one.
No, when I drive by
Number two is every time she has driven by our house, she and her children have flipped us off. She has used her profanity. Even in public places, she has used her profanity. All that we asked was for this to be over and to leave us alone.
Well, first we have to resolve this issue of the house. I've read your answer, and your answer suggests that this was just some shaving cream and it can be washed off. But I've seen the photographs, and it certainly appears that there is some, and I agree, minor discoloration between where you put the shaving cream and the house. Minor. Unfortunately, to make it right, she will be forced to repaint it and power wash it because of what you did, if she wants it to look the same. So it's going to cost you more then, and I think that you have to take that up with your brother-in-law. I mean, your brother-in-law did not do the right thing if it was closed. That's ridiculous. You have homeowners insurance. Your homeowners insurance should cover that. This is not difficult. The money part isn't difficult. The other part is more difficult. You have children?
Yes, I do.
You have boys?
2 boys and a girl.
Is it the boys that are having trouble with her son?
And they're 19 years of age. Mine is.
Well, you all got to get your boys in tow, because your boys are going to move out of the house, hopefully sooner rather than later, and you're going to be left as neighbors.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I mean, her daughter was 100% wrong. There's no question about that, but it's also 100% juvenile, and certainly not a good example for children, for your children, or your children, I don't know who's right or wrong, to see their parents acting in an inappropriate way. You would agree with that, right?
Yes.
You would agree with that, right?
Yes.
So if your boys are behaving badly, don't encourage them by setting a bad example. And in addition, if you're neighbors, you live next door to each other. It's terrible to have to pull into a driveway and feel uncomfortable, to have to walk down the street, to have to drive your car down the street and have your back up all the time. It's ridiculous. Life is too short. Ladies, life is much too short. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Đây là cái sản phẩm nước mắm Nam Ngư của nhãn hàng Chính Chu. Hiện nay thì đã có chai lớn như thế này, rất là tiền cho các chị em nội trợ. Và chai lớn như thế này thì có dung tích, có trọng lượng là 1,2 lít. Đối với dòng nước mắm Nam Ngư này thì được làm từ cá cơm tươi nguyên chất, được đánh bắt từ biển. Và thành phần chính để làm nên một chai nước mắm như thế này thì gồm có nước mắm cốt, cá, muối, nước muối và đường. Những cái thành phần khác thì gồm có chất điều vị, chất điều chỉnh độ axit, hương liệu tổng hợp giống tự nhiên, chất tạo màu tự nhiên, chất bảo quản, chất ổn định, hỗn hợp chất yucca, chiết xuất, trái danh, chất tạo ngọt 951 tổng hợp. Và để mua được cái sản phẩm nước mắm Nam Ngư của nhãn hàng Chính Chu đúng của hàng công ty thì người tiêu dùng của chúng ta cần phải xem những cái đặc điểm của cái chai nước mắm. Thứ nhất là trên nắp chai nước mắm Nam Ngư đều để cái vấn nổi như thế này, là sẽ có cái Chính Chu Food ở trên nắp như thế này. Và thứ hai là cái ngày sản xuất và hạn sử dụng nước mắm sẽ được in ở trên nắp của chai như thế này. Đó, khi chúng ta mua thì chúng ta cần phải xem đúng của hàng công ty, vì hiện nay cái tình trạng làm cái nước mắm giả rất là nhiều. Vì vậy người dùng của chúng ta cần phải là một người mua hàng và sử dụng hàng thật là thông thái để chúng ta biết được đâu là hàng thật, đâu là hàng giả, để đảm bảo sức khỏe cho cả gia đình của chúng ta. Đó là đối với dòng nước mắm Nam Ngư của nhãn hàng Chính Chu.